Too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer, Campbell.
That's the birthday boy's fault. I had to turn it off because of him. That wasn't my fault. Normally I'd leave that off.
Sorry, YouTube fans, but you didn't miss a whole ton yet.
Yeah. Should we have him come in here and explain his outfit?
He already did, but I mean, for the Ralph Bailey viewers, I don't see if he's even still in it. He may have changed.
Oh, he did not change. He's going to wear that until he goes to bed tonight. Are you going crazy? He might wake up in that outfit for all we know.
You know, Hudson has been doing some really cool stuff though for this, like for their promotions.
Is that what that's about?
Yeah. Okay. I guess they're giving those away all week.
All right. Well, maybe we'll drag him in here and get him to explain to my audience what the hell that's all about.
Oh, he's listening. He'll walk down here in a little bit.
All right. Very good. Let's get started then. We'll come back and perhaps Mr. Flores will give us a little fashion show. I got a little fashion show. I got something to show y'all to get your thoughts upon. These guys want me to go to a 24-year-old girl and get her opinion. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'm going to show my decades-old feet to a 24-year-old. These shoes are older than Daisy.
That's a good point. But
she's going to lie either way. What's she going to say? I hate them. They look horrible. And your feet look like you're 63 years old? I bought some sandals, y'all, on the internet. You want to see them? Might as well get out of the way. What do you think? They see that? You see that?
Kinda.
I bought some Jesus shoes.
The Jesus 3.0s.
Totally biblical. And all I'm going to do is wear them here. You think I'm going to wear that out? You think I'm going to wear that to the only place those shoes will be seen is here, the Arco, maybe Ramco. They will never see the indoors of Casey's Steakhouse, Luigi's, Billy's, or maybe Billy's. Big time out. We're just getting started on a Wednesday. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, and we're streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. First Look with Scott Cox, morning 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Thursday edition.
Oh, I know.
Okay. It looks like there might be a little
hiccup
with our stand-down situation with Iran, so you might want to gas up your
No, my golf
sooner
stand
rather than later. We got the latest on the feet of the human foosball. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Hey, this is Terry Maxwell.
On.
You know, one thing I've never enjoyed
put it back on and tell
it takes time, patience, and real skill to do it right. That's why when it comes to painting my home or business, I trust the professionals at Howling Painting. Howling Painting is family-owned and operated right here in Kern County and has proudly served our community since 1978. They were even voted Best of Bakersfield, Best Painting Company in 2025 and 2026. Whether it's residential or commercial, interior or exterior, Howling Painting delivers quality work at competitive prices. Dedicated to exceptional and results that exceed expectations. And they don't consider the job finished until you're completely satisfied. Plus, they're fully licensed and insured, so you can feel confident your property is in good hands from the start to the finish. Get a free, no obligation consultation today at Howling Painting. That's HALLING.com or call 872-0988. Howling Painting, quality works you can trust.
As a fitness coach, my active psoriatic arthritis can slow me down. With Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, I'm treating my skin and joint symptoms so I can keep moving. Skyrizi, a prescription-only injection for adults, helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And for those who have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible. With Skyrizi, there's no daily dosing. It's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
We all start as tiny seeds, needing care, love, and a little sunlight. Then, boom, we sprout, stretch, and grow through the world of childhood and teen years. Before you know it, we're blooming, working, parenting, thriving. And yes, even golden petals can shine bright. Join Kern County Public Health and thrive like a poppy. Visit KernPublicHealth.com to learn more.
Before you hit the road for the holidays, make sure your car is ready for the journey. Kern Oil Change keeps your engine running smooth and your family safe. No appointments needed. Just drive in and their fast, friendly team will get you back on the road in minutes. Don't wait till you're stuck on the side of the road. Stop by Kern Oil Change today and travel with confidence this holiday season. Kern Oil Change has 2 locations to serve you, 3706 Coffee Road and 5651 Auburn Street. Kern Oil Change is open 7 days a week. Follow us on Instagram for additional savings.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
You keep saying you got something for me. Something you call love, but confess.
So war has re-begun in the Middle East. There were exchanges of fire last night where the Iranians attacked 3 ships going through the Strait of Hormuz, which I think kind of emphasizes the fact, and it's one of the reasons, and I know you're sick and tired of hearing it, but why I have said from the beginning that you have to play this thing straight, Mr. President. It's not a campaign. It's not an election. It's not a debate. You've got to tell us the truth. And to say that the Strait of Hormuz has been open for the last week or 2 is crazy. And it was proven over this last night when they attacked 3 ships that did not follow the route that the Iranians have made clear ships must go through to get through the Strait of Hormuz. And if you don't, they will attack you with this Navy, Army, Air Force, military ability that we were told has been completely incapacitated. So go tell that to the companies that are not going through the Strait of Hormuz for fear that they're going to be attacked by the Iranians. And so we returned fire, and then about 1 o'clock this afternoon, Pacific time, we re-attacked. So we are at war. And the president, who is in Turkey with the NATO summit, talked about the fact that, yeah, we're back at war.
I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
See, do you understand now? It's starting to sink now. I think it has to be in your minds why I've been so redundant about the fact that you have to play it straight. Because tell me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it just a week ago that he told us that we got rid of the first regime, we got rid of the second regime, and now I'm dealing with the third regime who are smarter and more moderate and more willing to discuss. That's why I'm willing to go with this 60-day ceasefire. And we're dealing with a much smarter group, a much better group, and they know better, and they want to make a deal. They want to make a deal. They want to make a deal so badly. Isn't that what we were told, or am I losing my mind? And that is the issue with this conflict, that this thing has been done impromptu from the get-go. There was never really any true plan. The goal has been tossed around like a damn beach ball at a Dodger game. Well, it's about regime change. Well, it's about to get the uranium. Well, now guess what it's about? Now it's a whole new ballgame. Now it's about the Strait of Hormuz. Now it's about just getting back to where we were before the conflict began. Here is more from the president, who is again not playing it straight. While he was warning, this was earlier today before the attacks at 1 o'clock this afternoon Pacific time, where he said, well, we might hit tonight, we might hit tomorrow, but I really don't think we're going to hit. Like, what? Tell me if you can make sense of this.
No, I don't think it's going to start again. I think it's going to go very quickly. They hit a couple of ships, and so we hit them much harder. When they hit, we hit 10 times harder. You know, we hit much harder than they do. We have a lot better equipment than they do. We may even, somebody asked before, do you think you'll hit them tonight? I said, we might. Yeah, we might. But when they hit, we hit. You know, it's what we use their language. We speak their language. No, I don't think so. I think anything that happens is going to be over very quickly, and we'll only make it safer, including for oil. Oil is going to be very free, very easy, and it's going to happen very fast. We have the Hormuz Strait. The boats have pulled out. I mean, it is a gusher of oil right now. We have a lot of oil, and no, anything that happens is going to happen very fast. We're not looking for long term.
What's he talking about? What the hell? 3 ships were attacked last night, Mr. President. And the oil that is going through is going to China. And guess whose pockets that's going into? It's been in all the papers. It's going into the Iranians' pockets. So the ships that are going through are feeding the Iranians' economy again because of this MOU that we signed. And yet they are manipulating the Strait of Hormuz. So we have a whole new front. And now the attention of the administration isn't even on the uranium anymore, when I thought that was the entire reason this whole thing started. And as I've told you, and I'll stand by this prediction or belief, whatever you want to call it, we're not going back to war with these people. Not in the sense that we're going to have a continuing bombing, or, God forbid, the idea, which, again, you have to remember, as we told you weeks ago, there was a plan in the Situation Room for an invasion of Karg Island, of actual boots on the ground. Now, I think that's an impossibility. I don't think the Republican Party would go along with that. I think that would be the ultimate breakaway from Donald Trump if we put American boys and girls on either Karg Island or anywhere in Iran. I think that would be the tipping point. I think they would break loose from him 100%. And now where we go, I have no freaking idea. And I don't think the administration does as well. That is the scariest part about this thing. That what is the off-ramp? And the political aspects of this thing, with the midterms coming up, you can't forget about that. There's always a political aspect to this, with guys and gals running for office that are, 2 or 3 or 4 points ahead or behind. This could be the difference. They may not need Maine, they being the Democrats. This is just seemingly crazy to me. I don't understand how they didn't factor in the Strait of Hormuz before this thing started. Like, what are we going to do if they leverage this? And now we've suddenly given them, this is like playing chess. You know, like in checkers, you get back, don't you get back players in checkers? Like if you get like kinged, no, you don't get players back.
I think you get players back, but you stack that one, right? And then become the king.
Isn't there some game where you get players back
chess,
as you win?
Chess, if you get a pawn to the opposite side, like the last line of the opposite side, you could swap it out with everyone that you lost.
Well, this would be like getting the queen back. To me, the most powerful, I don't know much about chess. I was a decent player when I was young. But to me, that's the most powerful piece on the board. And we've given them the queen back. In fact, I don't even think they knew they had the queen. I don't think they knew they had the leverage they have in the Strait of Hormuz before this thing started. And now they do. Now they absolutely do. And again, he talks about us annihilating them and destroying their military capabilities. Well, go tell that to the 3 ships that were attacked. And go tell that to the insurance companies that are not going to back these ships to go through these dangerous waters. They have control. So they basically, through this whole situation, they being the Iranians, have actually gained. They now have a piece of leverage, and most importantly, kind of in a Joe Bugner type fashion. If you don't get that sports analogy, let me put it in pop culture, kind of a Rocky-esque fashion. They've taken a pretty good punch from us, and they're still standing, and they're still fighting. So do we even have military leverage? Because the last thing this administration needs is body bags coming back to America. Quick timeout. We head into the back half of the hour. Clayton Campbell will join us at the top of the hour. It's TRBS. I'd stick around if you.
Sir News. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Kentucky's governor has written an open letter to Mitch McConnell asking the Republican senator to disclose more about his condition. There's been 3 weeks of silence from the 84-year-old McConnell since he was hospitalized June 14th in Washington, and that's led to rampant speculation about McConnell's prognosis and whether he'll return to the Senate when it reconvenes next week. The U.S. military says it's carrying out another round of strikes on Iran after the Islamic Republic attacked ships in the Strait of Hormuz a day earlier. The announcement on Wednesday came hours after President Trump threatened to unleash more military action against Iran after saying that the Iranian attack signaled the end of the ceasefire. Iranian state media reported explosions. More details at srnnews.com.
Meet Lee Platts, a renter who's...
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN newsroom.
The ICE detention facility has been sold to the federal government, and some people in California City want the city to do something about it. At last night's Planning Commission meeting, though, protests were heard when the commission voted to uphold the facility site plans that were approved in February. The sale was for about $732 million. Tamara Popoy gets a $110,000 bail after successful arguments from her lawyers Tuesday. She's charged in the June 20th early morning death of 66-year-old Gabriel Lopez Ortiz in a hit and run on Stockdale Highway at Callaway Drive that prosecutors say was caused by her being 3 times the legal limit of alcohol. Popoy is charged with gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, DUI, and hit and run, and has to wear an ankle monitor for now. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Before you hit the road for the holidays, make sure your car is ready for the journey. Kern Oil Change keeps your engine running smooth and your family safe. No appointments needed. Just drive in and their fast, friendly team will get you back on the road in minutes. Don't wait till you're stuck on the side of the road. Stop by Kern Oil Change today and travel with confidence this holiday season. Kern Oil Change has 2 locations to serve you, 3706 Coffee Road and 5651 Auburn Street. Kern Oil Change is open 7 days a week. Follow us on Instagram for additional savings.
Are you looking for a hospital that truly cares for your health and well-being? At Good Samaritan Hospital, they provide high-quality medical detox, psychiatric services, and medical and surgical care. They accept most insurances, including Medi-Cal, Medicare, and Kern Family. They offer Kern County's longest-standing inpatient detox program with dual diagnosis that combines medical care and withdrawal management all under one roof. Learn more at GoodSamaritanHospital.com or call 661-215-7500. Good Samaritan Hospital. They care for their community.
Maxwell in the morning. Good till the last mic drop.
Judge blocks the Virginia law barring ICE agents from wearing masks. Can you believe that? Can you believe they have to have a law prohibiting masks? That's the insanity going on. A judge ruled that it's likely unconstitutional. All they had to do was get a message from the DOJ. Excuse me, but that's unconstitutional. Go away. You know, swat them like a fly.
Weekdays 9 to noon. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. KERN.
Hey, folks, the host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1.
Did they get a good look at that from the angle I gave them?
I mean, they could probably see the top of your feet.
I'll give you another look.
We're gonna have to take the camera down a sec. Hold on.
Well, that's a pretty good view. I don't know, let's just take it off. Give me a good angle. There you go. I don't know. Riveting radio. I know, totally. What do y'all think? Don't pay attention to the long toenails, but just the fashion of the shoe. I don't know.
Brown leather.
Yeah, I mean, just for, I'm not going to wear them out. I wouldn't get, maybe like a barbecue, but I don't go to barbecues. I don't get invited to barbecues. Where else were I? If it was something outside, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like on the river, but I don't do things like that.
You don't want to wear those near water, though.
No? Why not?
Are those not leather?
Yeah. Oh, true. Curls it right up. It's the old D. Martin line. 842-537-6842. Anything on the board before we get started?
Yeah, we got a couple.
Yeah.
We have so much oil that gas prices went up 10 cents yesterday.
Yeah. And in fact, I was going to do new laws. In July, our sales tax went up on gas from 61 to 63 cents. It's just crazy. Just absolutely crazy. What else you got?
Ralph, thank God you aren't the president. Don't you think it's wise for our president to publicly announce what he intends to do?
No. Why is that wise? And of course, it's great that I'm not the president. I'm not qualified to be the leader of the free world. Do you think that I'm that egotistical that I think that I could be the leader of the free world? Why can't we just have a civil conversation? Why can't you just ask a question without trying to insult me? Because believe me, after 22 years, it falls on deaf ears. You're just wasting time. And it really speaks more of who you are than it speaks of who I am. I think this entire radio audience understands I'm not qualified to be the president of the United States. Am I qualified to criticize him? Yes. You know what qualifies me to criticize him? I'm a United States citizen. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia in 1962. That's what qualifies me to criticize the president of the United States. And no, I don't think it's a great idea to tell the Iranians what we intend to do beforehand. I've never heard of that, to be honest with you, in military activity. I've never heard of that in my life. And if I'm not that smart, I realize that, but I do know a little bit about history, and I've never heard about that. In fact, one of the greatest military conflicts ever, we went out of our way to disguise what we were doing. We tried to tell the Germans we were leaving from Calais when we were actually going to hit Normandy. So are you telling me that Dwight Eisenhower should have told the Germans, we're going to Normandy, we'll be climbing the cliffs, get ready? So to answer your question, moron, no, it's a horrendous idea to tell the enemy what you intend to do beforehand. This isn't a football where you could say, we'll give them our playbook and we'll just out-execute them. No, it's a pretty good idea to keep your secrets militarily within your people. It's amazing the questions. Why do we even, we might have to get rid of the technology. I'm starting, we're doing some changes with the broadcast. We might just have to just eliminate text messages. No, I would never do that. I enjoy the give and take, even when it's with people of limited. Shut up, Ralph. What else you got?
That's it.
All right, very good. Thank you, Jesus. So no, I don't think it's a great idea what we're doing. I don't think this whole thing has been a great idea. I don't understand how anybody could possibly believe that this thing has been a great idea. Was it a great idea to finally do something after 47 years to a regime that has dedicated itself to wiping off a country and its nation, the Israelis, and America at the same time? As we're chanting, God bless America, they're chanting death to America. Yes, that was a great idea. But if you're going to go into such a great endeavor, you better have it planned out. You better have a beginning, a middle, and an end. If I know anything about situations or story writing or putting something together, it's the fundamental basic knowledge that no matter what it is, whether it's a trip to drive from Los Angeles to Atlanta, whether it's a day at Disneyland, whether it's just dealing with your children, there better be a beginning, a middle, and an end. And when there's not, there is something called chaos. When there's no plan, when there's no expectations of what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it, it doesn't matter what you're dealing with. It could be an afternoon with your children. And if you don't have it planned out, it is utter chaos. Now, in your home, who cares? Who cares? But when you're involved with people's life and death, it matters greatly. And I said this from day one. This thing has been haphazardly, staggeringly. We're gonna annihilate them one day, then we're not. Then we're gonna destroy their infrastructure, then we're not. Then we're gonna go after their desalination plant, then we're not. I mean, no, this has been horrendously planned. And how could it not be? How could it not be when Pete Hegseth, when the man that is heading the State Department, or excuse me, the Pentagon, one of the most important functions of our military, his last job was on Fox and Friends. Now, I'm asking you, you really feel comfortable with that? I don't care about his past. I don't care that he was a military cat. He was never a true leader. He was never a general. He was never on the level of some of the men that he's ordering around and firing for reasons that I'm not even going to get into right now, as far as I'm concerned. But on his last resume was Fox and Friends, and now he's leading this incompetent war. And the only way we stop things like this is to criticize them and to be able to tell our leaders, even if we support them, this ain't going well. And if you think it is, okay, all right. I just pray that your grandchildren or your children don't have to respond to this if you think it's going so well. Because what's the alternative at this point? We either get off the freeway completely and just try to claim victory and come home because the president keeps claiming that the uranium is buried so far down, only us and China can get it out. But again, as I said at the top of the program, now we've got a whole new dilemma. We've got a Strait of Hormuz is now in danger. We've got an Iranian government that is still has military capability. And we have to deal with that. And so I'm flabbergasted that anyone thinks that this is being handled well, that we're being perceived well, that our military men and women feel good about this situation. You don't think they're on pins and needles, not knowing what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how this thing is going to get us out of there? What are even the goals at this point? And if you say, well, we've got to open up the Strait of Hormuz, well, the president claims it is straight. The strait is open. And he claims the uranium is buried. So then why are we even dealing with these people? If everything that he's saying is true, why are we even dealing? Let's pack up our stuff and go home. The strait is open, the uranium is buried, mission accomplished. But nobody believes that. Everybody knows it's not accomplished. And now we've basically walked up and taken a baseball bat to a hornet's nest, and we just assume that we could knock out every hornet that comes out of the nest. And the reality is we haven't and we can't. Apparently, they have taken a pretty big slug from America, and they're still standing, and they're still combative, and they're still attacking. In fact, not only are they attacking, they're not attacking defensively, they're attacking offensively. Apparently, according to the Iranians, and again, you've got to take this with a grain of salt because it came out of their mouths, and the only time they lie is when their lips are moving, but they hit some 80 bases, American bases, in Kuwait and Bahrain. That's why we had no choice but to go after them. But I thought we had our foot on their neck. I thought we had them under their thumb, our thumb. I thought they were completely wiped out, completely decimated. You got to play it straight. You got to play it straight. You cannot politically, as the leader of a conflict, get caught. Can you imagine if Abraham Lincoln had lied during the Civil War? Hey, y'all, everything's going great. Can you imagine if the Gettysburg Address had been different? Yeah, a couple of guys died here, but we're doing great. This thing's going to end in a week or two. You got to play it straight. When you're dealing with people's children and grandchildren and their lives, you have to play it straight. And to be honest with you, I'm not certain the president is capable of playing it straight and just being honest. Just being honest. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll get into the Graham Plattner situation. There is now a new issue that I'll share when we come back. Isn't this fun? Because the Democratic Party is in utter disarray. And Plattner is, in many ways, not going away. And maybe, if we get lucky, isn't going away. I don't think we'll be that lucky, though. But he's still causing issues. I'll explain. Then coming up at the top of the hour, our good friend, attorney Clayton Campbell will join us. 4:30, Ron Pierce from Minter Field will join us live in studio. And then coming up in the 5, we'll get into chaos in California City. If you're a California City resident, text us. Tell us what's going on out there with the detention center. What are your thoughts on that? Did you attend the council meeting last night? You will hear, courtesy KGET, of one city council member describing the chaos and what went on with folks just not happy with this detention center. That's all coming up. In the meantime, you're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. We're streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1.
Adaptive.
You got one?
I got one yesterday.
Morning 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Thursday edition of the First Look program, it looks like there might be a little hiccup with our stand-down situation with Iran, so you might want to gas up your car sooner rather than later. We got the latest on the FIFA, the human foosball. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
The tutoring session from Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne continue. They are the owners of Adaptive Networks that provide all of our IT services. And why did we turn to the folks right across the street from us? Because of their customer service, their reliability, and their flat-out competence. We have been struggling with our IT for years. Excuse me? If you're a business owner, you should be listening to these segments that we do on Wednesdays with Van Alstyne's, because one of the segments focuses on what you should be looking for and some of the red flags that you should be seeing as well when dealing with your IT. If you've got an IT company that's coming out time after time after time and just going over the same problems over and over again, then I suggest you pick up the phone and call the folks at Adaptive Networks today. 661-241-0638. That's 661-241-0638. Join American General Media in teaming up with the best IT team in Kern County. And that's the good folks at Adaptive Networks. Again, their number is 661-241-0638. Or hit them online at adaptive-net.com.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number. To a good life sleep.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2026 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Constant application may vary. Online help questions required.
Today, we tip our wrench to Rock Auto customer Noah.
My first car was a 2001 Dodge Neon with a blue wing, and it happened to match my high school sweetheart, who's now my wife, her black 2005. So my uncle has been in the industry for well over 25 years. He recommended Rock Auto immediately to buy my first set of brakes. I would recommend Rock Auto just because it's simple, it's easy to find the parts you're looking for, it's all at a good price.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1.
He is demanding, check this out, after understanding that after they ignored the first three women who claimed that he was abusive, twisted their arm, dragged them out of cabs, threw them around apartments, the association with that incredible, I forgot about this, we didn't talk about this earlier this week, that website that he went to that most pundits, I'd never heard of it, Kid, whatever the hell it was, Kick, was some kind of gateway to pedophilia. The comments that he made that if somebody broke into his home that he would rape them, it wouldn't be about sex, it would be about revenge. I mean, just all of the stuff that the Democrats ignored. And then finally we get a reputable woman that somehow they have to believe because her receipts are just too authentic. The fact that she told him the next day that she never wanted to see him, that she talked to a therapist, boop, boop, boop. And believe it or not, did I send you the Micah Brzezinski stuff? The Mika Brzezinski, did I send you that?
Yes.
Listen to this. This is some woman who is Zbigniew Brzezinski's daughter. That's her claim to fame. Zbigniew Brzezinski was the NSA advisor for Jimmy Carter. So he didn't last long, obviously. And he wasn't that competent, obviously, because he gave the president horrible advice because he ended up being one of the worst foreign policy presidents we've ever had. And that's her claim to fame, other than the fact that she married her co-host, which, of course, is an HR no-no. But listen to this broad interrogate the New York Times reporter as if Graham Plattner were not guilty. Listen to this.
So what are some of those corroborating pieces of evidence? So you've got conversations with her therapist and people who she confided in.
Wait, stop. And that's not enough. And she's got conversations with her therapist the day after it happened and contact with her friends. And then 5 years later, she says the same story. But what else you got? Because for me, as a Democrat, that ain't enough. Despite the fact that I'm a part of a party that has said, believe women. We screamed it throughout the entire Supreme Court confirmation hearing of Brett Kavanaugh. Believe women. Believe Dr. Blasey Ford. She's come forward and talked about something that happened when they were in 11th grade. But we should believe all women. But listen to her interrogate the New York Times in this irrefutable story.
Any conversations with Graham Plattner at the time of it where she said, because apparently as part of this story, she says she even confirmed to him that this was not consent. Do you have that? What do you have that actually connects this literally? Graham Plattner to raping this victim?
Yeah, she reached out to him the day after via Instagram and essentially, told him that, she didn't want to hear from him again. She told him that morning as well. We looked at messages that she had sent to others in the months after this happened through social media.
But you were able to see those DMs?
She tried to recover those DMs. We did not. We were not able to review those DMs, but she described them to us. We also, long before he was a political candidate, we saw her essentially explain to others that he was, quote, in her words, consensually careless, end quote.
Right, but were you able to see the interactions between Graham Plattner and this alleged victim? Did you actually see them? Did she produce them for you?
She attempted to uncover them. But was unable to.
This is a case of a seasoned television professional tearing apart an idiotic New York Times reporter who's not used to doing television. Because what he should have said was, because I've read the stories, no, we couldn't come up with the DMs. You're absolutely right, Ms. Brzezinski, if you're trying to prove that Graham Plattner didn't rape this child. But you know what we did do? Because we're the New York Times, as I told you, kind of in an arrogant way that I know more about journalism than you do. And while you may think the New York Times is a bad paper, believe me, it's not. It's a very good newspaper. Is it a liberal paper? Yes. Does it slant against the Republican Party? Yes. But is it a solid newspaper filled with great reporters? Yes. And what this idiot, who's not used to doing television, didn't tell this idiot Brzezinski was, no, we don't have the DMs, but we did interview the people that she claimed she talked to. So in other words, if Ralph Bailey claimed that he got sucker punched at KC Steakhouse, the night while I was sitting in the emergency room, I texted Chris Burdick. And I said, Chris, I'm in here with a broken jaw on both sides of my face. Now, in other words, to make the analogy, if they investigated that, they couldn't find the DM between Chris and I, but they did talk to Chris. And Chris did say, yes, Ralph Bailey contacted me from Kern Medical Center with a broken jaw on both sides of his face. That's what they did with this woman and her allegations. But that's not good enough for Brzezinski. She is now actually one of the few idiots that's actually trying to tear apart the case of this woman, despite the fact that she belongs to a party that says, believe all women. Like, what happened to Me Too? And this was today, where she's tearing apart this idiot. And let me tell you something, and last time this boy will ever go on television. Because if I watched this and was just like, dude, just tell them the story, what do you think their editors are going to think? Dude, you just went on television and made us look stupid. Why didn't you tell them we contacted the people that she talked to, that we thoroughly vetted this story, and it's as solid as a rock? But if you listen to that and didn't know the facts of the story, you'd think Brzezinski was right. It's unbelievable. And finally, here's some more audio. This is Devin Murphy Anderson. The issue that they have now, they being the Democrats, is that Plattner really feels like he's got leverage. Why? He won 72% of the vote. 72%. And he just doesn't think he's going away. But the Democratic Party in Maine says, you ain't gonna have nothing to do with this.
The integrity of this process is just as important as the outcome. And we are committed to ensuring that Democrats across our state can have confidence in both. Unfortunately, Graham Plattner's team has repeatedly reached out to us in an attempt to put their thumb on the scale of what this process looks like. We have repeatedly reiterated to Graham Plattner's team that they have no role in determining our next Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate, nor in determining what this process looks like.
It's the first time I've applauded the Democratic Party in a long time. Good for you, Devin, and good for Maine Democrats. Because the idea that this guy who we've known is a piece of, the thing that's still, and I know you're tired of me hearing this, but tired of me saying this, how did they not divorce this man over the Nazi tattoo? How was that not enough? And you know, they're throwing this on Trump because they're saying that Trump, because of the charges against him and E. Jean Carroll and the thing that he said to Billy Bush on the bus, has lowered the barometer or the level of decorum. Really? Really? How about a president of the United States having oral sex with a 21-year-old intern in the Oval Office? Don't give me this crap. About John Kennedy having sex with girls in the Lincoln bedroom. Lyndon Johnson having sex with his secretaries. Don't give me this nonsense. Quick time out. We head into the floor. One of our favorite people joins us. Defense attorney Clayton Campbell joins us next.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN, 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
Hall, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump flew home from the NATO summit in Turkey on an old baby blue Air Force One plane instead of the new Qatari and retrofitted red, white, and navy blue jet he arrived in. A surprise swap that came as the U.S. and Iran once again began trading strikes. The president explained the change.
It's flying to Europe, to one of the big bases, 2 or 3 of the big bases, where we can show it to the people. And we'll be going home by normal methods.
Both aircraft will make a previously unscheduled stop on the way back to the U.S. at Royal Air Force Mildenhall, a base used by U.S. troops. The Trump administration will allow Ukraine to manufacture Patriot air defense systems.
We'll give them the right to make Patriots. We'll show them how to do it. It's very complex, actually, but it's you'll figure out the complexity quickly.
The decision marks a significant shift, as the U.S. had previously resisted this move. Trump also praised NATO members for increasing defense spending and plans to lift Syria's terrorism designation. The Trump administration is cracking down on abuse of the H-1B visa program. Willie Nelson has the latest.
Vice President J.D. Vance says the administration is launching a new effort targeting abuse of the H-1B visa program.
Today, I'm proud to announce that the Federal Department of Labor has started dozens of subpoenas and investigations into foreign fraudsters who are trying to take advantage of the H-1B visa program.
The administration says the effort is aimed at protecting American workers. Willie Nelson, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 576 points. The NASDAQ rose 51. The S&P 500 down by 21. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Meet Matthew Preston. Inside his apartment, everything he holds dear is protected by Progressive's renter's insurance, like his laptop and a surprisingly valuable collection of baseball bobbleheads. Outside his apartment, his laptop is still protected, as are his bobbleheads, which he carries around with him for reasons no one knows. Renters, the limits of protection aren't just the 4 walls of your home. When you're in Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
1812, America won its religious freedom. Now that constitutional right has been attacked from inside our own government.
We all of a sudden became, I got 6 months house arrest, 5 years probation. I'm sorry, our rights have been suspended.
Don't miss the powerful new documentary by Dawn's Early Light. How President Trump's task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias exposed the truth. By Dawn's Early Light. For a limited time, watch it free at ByDawnsEarlyLightFilm.com. By DawnsEarlyLightFilm.com.
In fact, they want to do a procedure.
Prince Harry's final lawsuit against...
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update.
Some of the gang activity was just south of Kern County. I'm Chris Davis.
These are violent gangster thugs, and they did bad things. They did violent things, and they stole drugs from other gangsters. Nobody was off limits for them.
United States Attorney Bill S. Seeley announcing charges against leaders of an India-based gangs that prosecutors say kidnapped someone and brought them to an apartment in Fresno as part of an extortion scheme that involved their trafficking cocaine and fentanyl. Charges include
racketeering, extortion, and drug trafficking stemming from a multi-year investigation into India-based organized crime groups.
The feds say the gangs were involved in assassinations as well as drugs and extortion. The Planning Commission in Cal City is trying to decide whether they will take further action upon learning of the completion of the sale of the ICE detention facility there to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. That cost the feds and taxpayers about $732 million. That is one of 2 ICE detention facilities sold by Core Civic to the federal government in the state. The other is near the border in San Diego. The commission upheld the site plan that was approved in February despite people who were there to protest expressing their opposition. Tamara Popoy gets a $110,000 bail after successful arguments from her lawyers Tuesday.
what I don't know.
It's a Japanese cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, your Dodgers are the ones that are going to be doing it more often now, so you'll probably see him around. He's the one with the straw hat.
Her being 3 times the
You have Shohei, so you have the obligatory Japanese connection now.
while intoxicated, DUI and hit and run, and traffic infractions, and has to wear an ankle monitor for now. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
To the rest well, in a month from now, this Hollywood Big Shot's gonna give you what you want. That's shooting in a week. I'm gonna make him an offer again.
The Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hour 2 of the broadcast on this Wednesday, 8th day of July. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. We're streaming live at kernradio.com and broadcasting live on YouTube. Still lots to do. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, Ron Pierce out from Mentor Field will join us. Got something going on at the museum we'll tell you all about. We'll get into the chaos in California City as the residents out there are not happy with the detention center that the DHS has purchased and plans to establish out there. We'll unpack that for you. Get into a little sports. The Dodgers threw one away last night, literally, against the Colorado Rockies, which must be a weird thing. Maybe we'll talk about this with our next guest, that Eric Karros, I mean, is that like the ultimate dream of a lifetime? You go through baseball, you leave the Dodgers. You know he's the leading home run in Dodger history. Duke Snider, Jackie Robinson, who else home run? Reggie Smith, Dusty Baker, Steve Garvey, Ron Say. No, it's Eric Karros. And now he's in the booth with his son playing third base for the Rockies, who got a big base hit the night that they made the comeback, but we ended up winning anyway. But we couldn't do it last night because we threw the thing away. We'll talk about that. And we'll get you updated on Wimbledon, big match for Coco Gauff tomorrow to see if she can get into the finals for the very first time in her career. But in the meantime, as those of you who are streaming on YouTube can see, one of our favorite people, local defense attorney, even though he's a Cardinal fan, and I don't mean Arizona, our good friend, attorney Clayton Campbell. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. Good googly moogly. Where you want to start? Mr. Plattner, Iran. What else did I have under your the Charlie Kirk preliminary hearing? Pick a poison.
Plattner's my favorite of those topics.
Of course it is. Because it's still unraveling and it's beautiful.
I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And that, you know, here we have the party that said, believe all women.
Believe all women.
When they bring out some of these just extremely attenuated, not corroborated claims.
Blasey Ford and her crazy kooky story.
Every Republican who is nominated for the court, if it's the high court, they come up with some kind of one of these people suddenly shows up with these accusations that are not substantiated by any solid evidence. It's just, well, this is what I recall. I don't really remember the specifics.
And in the case of Brett Kavanaugh, we're talking about 11th grade.
Right.
11th grade.
You know what? Brag about my daughter. She graduated from Hillsdale College.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And she just got married. But when she was a freshman there, you know, Hillsdale is kind of the Republican Harvard. A bunch of these political nerd types, including one who's a DJ, they did this. They made some kind of music remix, and they took clips from Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing, and they mixed it in with this music. And it's really hilarious if you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, you're like, well, this is kind of a weird song.
Right.
So these kids would play it at their parties, and I remember she's like, hey, you got to hear this song. She plays it for me, and first thing you hear is Brett Kavanaugh saying, I like beer. Sometimes I have too many beers. And then they loop this over, and it's hilarious. But if you know, it's Brett Kavanaugh. But anyway,
that is an intellectual college where kids are having fun with a Supreme Court nominee let alone a member of the court.
Like I said, they're a bunch of nerds.
That's a bunch of brilliant kids.
But there's a bit of a double standard here. Here you get this, grand play. Oh, by the way, and then you have somebody like Elon Musk who waves at the crowd, and when you take a screenshot of one frame of this wave, they're like, he's doing the Hitler salute.
Yeah.
He's a Nazi. He's literally a Nazi, right? And they call us Nazis all the time. It's just the most over the top, hyperbolic insults. And then they have a guy that they nominate for the U.S. Senate. Bernie Sanders endorses him. All the Democrats line up behind him. He has a literal Nazi emblem tattooed on his body.
Well, Clayton, he didn't know what it meant.
Sure.
For 18 years, he had it on his chest, and he had no idea what it meant. Even though he went all the way to Croatia to have it emblazoned on his chest, and his girlfriend knew about it a year before they broke up.
It's just, his explanation is total hogwash. And so here he's got this literal Nazi tattoo. He goes on Reddit and says some of the weirdest stuff, like stuff that's not suitable for the air, right?
I couldn't even repeat it.
And then he has all these, and what does it take? And finally, they do something.
Well, you forgot about the website that he was on.
That was the Reddit. Yeah, he was on Reddit.
But I thought it was Kick.
Or maybe it was Kick, too.
Yeah,
but they found a bunch of his Reddit posts where he was talking about all kinds of weird stuff, including some kind of weird fantasy about sexually assaulting a burglar or something. Not in a gay way, though.
Right.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
It was just, the whole thing was so weird. And then he, all these sexual assault allegations and inappropriate behavior come out, and they still don't turn on him until the polling says, hey, this isn't going to go well. Susan Collins is going to get reelected. And then all of a sudden it matters. And their conscience is now troubled.
I try to tell my audience this had nothing to do with this final woman who is completely credible. It has nothing to do with that. I told them if it was 54-46 Plattner, they would rationalize her away as well. They would have said, well, she should be respected, she should be heard, but it's really her word against Plattner, and we believe Plattner. They would have rationalized it away. But once they realized that Susan Collins was going to win, and they realize now they've got until July 27th to find a new candidate, they're like, we got to do the Biden.
We got to do
the Biden.
Exactly. They got to have a second shot at it. And you know what is, I don't know, this is probably the most insulting thing about it. Democrats have realized they have a problem with blue collar men in this country.
Yeah.
Right? They have a problem with this. So they thought, well, what is a blue collar man like? They have no idea. They're so out of touch. They're in this weird echo chamber bubble in DC or New York City. They have no idea. And so they get a guy like the guy from Minnesota. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank.
Tim Walz.
Tim Walz. They get him. They're like, oh, he's like the coach. He's the hunter. He's a regular guy.
And they show him changing his oil.
And he's a buffoon.
And he's handling a shotgun like I would handle a shotgun ineptly.
It's just insulting to anybody who actually know. They're just they have no idea what they're doing. So they're just pretending. And so then they get a guy like Graham Plattner. And I think they think, when I say they, I mean the Democrat thinkers, right? They think, well, this is what a typical middle-aged white blue-collar guy is.
Yeah.
And it's so insulting because that is not the typical blue-collar American worker. A guy who sexually assaults people and has Nazi tattoos? Come on.
And claims he's an oyster farmer when in fact, you know who his one client was his mother.
Oh, well.
That's honestly
he's a fraud. That's
total fraud.
That's more typical politician. But the idea that they think that working men in America will relate to this guy somehow is just insulting.
I've got audio of the two people that supposedly vetted him that I'm going to play a little bit later. I don't want to play it while you're here. Take your time, but it's hilarious. In the interview.
I will listen.
It is. I stole this from I forget who said it earlier this morning because I stole it from their audio, and they said, "I swear that looks like a Saturday Night Live skit," because they're asking him, "Did you vet him?" And they're like, well, yeah, kinda. And they're like, did you find out all this stuff? Well, some of it, not all of it. And it is hilarious.
Well, that's what the primary is for. You're supposed to actually, if you actually have a real primary, then you have a contest of ideas and candidates can fight it out. And they're in the same party. So they have a little more credibility when it comes to these scrutinizing one another. But when you have it kind of rigged, like the Democrats like to do in their primaries, they don't like to have a true contest where the voters choose.
Well, that's my next question.
Yeah, and that's what they did with Biden.
That's my next question.
He was the anointed, incumbent looking for a reelection, and then when they realized it wasn't going well, they just picked Kamala, and that was not a democratic process at all. There was no input from the voters. I don't think she would have gotten the nomination.
Defense Attorney Clayton Campbell is our guest. That's my next question. Let me turn your stomach for about 30 seconds and have you pretend to be a head Democrat in Maine. What the hell do you do? You can't turn to 78-year-old Janet Mills, who got 27% of the vote while he was getting 72. What the Sam Hill do you do? And you just pointed out they can't do the Biden, they can't do the Kamala again and just anoint somebody, can they?
Well, this might just be how they're going to prove that they're inept. I mean, I don't know it's not an enviable position to be in. I don't know how you fix this. I don't know who the other potential candidates are. Surely you could get someone who has some integrity that could be the candidate, but maybe that's not the one that's exciting to the base.
Right.
The popular thing is to talk, to preach socialism to a bunch of ignorant people who get their information from TikTok, who think socialism is a viable economic model. And that's popular in the Democratic Party right now. And so they need somebody who's kind of their version of a Democrat populist as opposed to a Republican populist.
Right.
That's what wins primaries. That's not who seriously governs. And if the Democrats get their way, that's who will be governing us. But they needed somebody who was more of a parallel to Susan Collins. I mean, Collins is a moderate, about as moderate as you get. She is definitely a Republican, but she's a moderate, and also as a woman, there's quite a contrast to have this misogynistic Nazi running against her.
Yeah.
Right? You need to have somebody who's actually a serious adult who can debate her on the merits of things like, how do we reform Medicare?
Yeah.
How do we balance the budget, and all the things that people are concerned about that you expect a mature senator to deal with.
So moderate that she's not truly beloved in the Republican Party.
No, she's not.
Certainly not by Trump.
Well, I think a lot of people that they see her as more moderate on a lot of social issues, and that she's maybe antagonistic to Trump on a lot of things, but she is a true Republican. She votes with Republicans on important legislation.
Like 96-97% of the time.
Yeah, and she votes with Republican nominees for the Supreme Court. She voted in favor of Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch, and she's been a solid supporter of Republican presidents when it comes to their judicial nominees. So that's she's definitely a Republican.
What do you think of my theory that the reason that they are so hell-bent on Maine is because this is the kingpin for them? This is the key. They think they're going to win in Texas. They think they have a shot in Ohio, maybe Iowa. Where else? Not North Carolina, but they think that Maine is the kingpin. And this is obviously about switching the power in the Senate. But I go further and say it's not about the power in the Senate. It's about getting rid of the filibuster. That they want to get rid of the filibuster so that they can pack the court and they can make D.C. and Puerto Rico states. What say you? Am I crazy?
I think there are some in the Democrat Party who want to do that. I don't know that just having a bare majority of 51 senators is going to be enough to do that, because there are a lot of people in the Senate who have been around in the Senate a long time, and they do respect the traditions of the Senate.
Even on the Democratic side?
Oh, yeah. There are plenty of them there, and they learn their lesson, too.
Because they know it's going to come back around.
Yeah, and that's what happened when they changed the filibuster rule, if you don't recall. Back when Obama was president and he was nominating a lot of judicial, the trial judges and appellate judges, not Supreme Court justices necessarily, but he had all these judges, and Republicans were filibustering their confirmations. So the Democrats said, we're going to change the filibuster rule so you can no longer filibuster a judicial nominee. And that was a break from what the tradition has been in the Senate since the filibuster rule came about. And we're talking 100 plus years, probably 150 years.
It's one of the most brilliant moves Mitch McConnell's ever made.
Well, McConnell
he kept
Garland
out.
Well, that's what
Trump
happened.
Got in, and we did the very same thing.
Well, exactly. Well, so he warns them, you're going to regret this sooner than you think. And then, sure enough, right before, after the election, but before the new Senate was sworn in, the Democrats went and changed the rule and put the filibuster back so they could filibuster Trump's nominees. So then Trump, backing up to when it was Scalia passed away, then there was an opening. Obama nominated Merrick Garland, who was supposedly a moderate, and he turned out to be a very far left when he was Attorney General. They nominate him, and of course the Republicans declined to take up the vote. And then Trump wins the election, and then the Democrats try to filibuster the Neil Gorsuch nomination, and Republicans remove the filibuster rule again. So I think they've learned their lesson, and there are a lot of things that could go wrong that would just flip-flop every time the Senate changed hands or the Congress changed hands, and which is why the filibuster rule is helpful, because it requires more consensus, it requires more deliberation.
You got to go across the aisle.
It's harder to make big changes.
Yeah, I still think they're going to try it. I think the 6-3 majority is driving them nuts, and they'll do whatever they can to change it. Talking with our good friend Clayton Campbell, where you want to go, Charlie Kirk or Iran?
Well, let's talk about the Charlie Kirk case.
Yeah. Why is this preliminary hearing going on so long? Why are they allowed to object to things that have already been adjudicated in prior hearings and whatnot? Why are they talking about some damn gun holster when 99.99999% of the people on this planet know that Charlie Kirk was shot with a rifle? Why is all this relevant? Why is this going on? And why is the government showing so much of their case? Is that typical in a prelim?
Well, preliminary hearing.
Were you surprised to see the video in the prelim?
No, I wasn't surprised.
No?
I think there was a clip of the judge hearing the preliminary hearing, kind of being startled when he saw the fatal shooting on the video.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe that maybe he hasn't actually seen that footage, right? Some of these people are judges tend to be older than average, and they don't live on social media, so maybe he fortunately didn't have to see that footage when the day this happened.
I've only seen it once.
It was going all over the internet.
I've only seen it once,
and it's horrifying footage. So they're not taking anything for granted here. And this is the thing: a probable cause hearing. That's what a preliminary hearing is. You have to demonstrate to a judge that it's reasonable to believe a crime was committed, and it's reasonable to believe that the defendant committed the crime.
But am I stupid to say that they could have come into court and said, "We think he did it. That's it. That's our case," and this thing would go to trial? I mean, is there any possibility at all that this thing doesn't go to trial?
No, it's going to trial. But what I'm suggesting, though, is that the prosecutor takes their job very seriously. They have to put on evidence, enough evidence to show the judge that there's probable cause. This is a case, it's very high profile. They are not taking any chances. So they're putting in all their evidence. And I think the reason they're boldly playing so many cards right now, or putting all their, first of all, they have to disclose all this evidence anyway.
Yeah.
It'd be highly unusual for the defense to put on a bunch of evidence at the preliminary hearing, because the standard is just probable cause. You don't need to tip your hand, but the prosecutor has the burden at the preliminary hearing as well as at the trial. Now, it's not a very high burden at the preliminary hearing, but they still have to show evidence, and they're telling you all this stuff anyway. So the defense already has all this evidence. So it's not like it's something they're saving for trial to surprise you. They're not allowed to surprise you at trial in a criminal case. So they have to give all this evidence over anyway. So I think they're putting it all on because they're being thorough. They're not taking any chances. They're not leaving any opening for a court to say, well, I don't know if you've met the burden on one of these elements.
The audio isn't enough. The audio between him and his lover, where he basically gives a diary of the whole incident. He tells him, it's a him, wasn't it a him, Chris, the lover, that he described going to the campus before, he described going to the campus after, he describes going back to the campus to retrieve the rifle. There's DNA on the rifle. There's DNA of the boyfriend and him on the rifle. I mean, this seems like overwhelming evidence, but I guess you're saying
there's still a process. They have to show the judge. They have to prove that Charlie Kirk died in the prelim. Like, we all know that happened.
Right.
But the judge doesn't come in there with, oh, I heard on the news that this happened, or I saw this, or I read that diary on a blog. No, the judge comes in there as a blank slate.
Right.
This evidence has to be put before the judge. The judge has to weigh it, look at the elements of the crime. So they have to actually they have to probably bring in the guy from the coroner's office to say they did the autopsy, they determined the cause of death. And then they link that to the ballistics of the bullet they retrieved. They match that to the rifle. They prove that the rifle belonged to the shooter. Then they bring in all the motive stuff with all the other information. So there's a whole process they're gonna have to go through to prove everything, but they're not taking any chances, and I don't blame them at all. They want to make sure they get this right.
Is there any chance in hell they could find this guy not guilty or get a hung jury?
Well, there's always a chance of, yes. I mean, trial. There's no such thing as a trial that's a foregone conclusion. That's why we have the trial.
There's no such thing as a slam dunk case.
Well, some cases are a lot stronger than others, but
And I would think this is about as strong as it gets. I mean, between this and Luigi Mangione, I don't know how much more open and shut you get.
Well, the OJ case looked pretty strong too. I'm just saying, you never know. You never know, and that's
a good point.
Prosecutors know that, and they do not want to lose, and especially in a case where everyone in the country shares your view that this is so obvious, that he's so obviously guilty. Think about the kind of pressure that puts on a DA.
Yeah,
that they have to win this case. They have to get it, and so it's a death penalty case. There may be some special procedures in that jurisdiction that require more evidence to be produced, or they have to be more thorough with the prelim. I don't know. I haven't examined those procedures, but there are heightened burdens on the prosecution and on the court system itself when it comes to a death penalty case. They're more careful.
How closely have you been following this? You've been following Kathy Nestor and her approach to this, and is this within the bounds of the defense? Because it seems like she's bringing up a whole lot of nonsense.
I haven't followed it closely enough to critique either attorney involved.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Always good to talk to you. How are your Cardinals doing? I've been paying attention to the National League.
Well, hey, this is a freebie year for us because it's a rebuilding year and they're playing a lot better than I expected. So it's been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. And congratulations. Did your daughter just recently get married?
Yes, she graduated from Hillsdale College. So did her husband, and then they got married about 2 weeks ago.
Wow. Congratulations, Pop.
Thank you.
Soon to be a grandfather. Congratulations.
Hopefully.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Clayton Campbell will be filling in during the first week of August when I'm in El Segundo or wherever the hell I end up. Quick timeout. We'll not have a lot of time before we get to the bottom of the hour, but our good friend Ron Pierce is going to join us from the Minter Field Museum. That's all coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on Newstalk 96.1 AM 1230, and we're streaming live at kernradio.com. Sweet. That was great.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like
First Look
I've
with
never
Scott
seen a
Cox,
prelim with
morning
this
6 to 9 a.m.
On the Thursday edition of the First Look program, it looks like there might be a little hiccup with our stand-down situation with Iran, so you might want to gas up your car sooner rather than later. We got the latest on the FIFA, the human foosball. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 at AM 1230.
There's video of the
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
You know, it must be nice to be able to retire like Serena Williams and then say, I'm unretired. But for most of us, that's not the case.
Oh, I didn't know
When we hang it up, that's about it.
wow.
That's why you've got to be prepared for the late fourth quarter in your lives. And that's why I always stress that the smartest financial move I have ever made happened about 10 years ago when I became a client at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors. And the other thing I always remind you about, I've turned on colleagues here at American General Media to Daniel, and they could not be happier about what Daniel has done for them financially. Call Daniel Petrie at 395-9400, 395-9400, or just tune in on Thursdays. He appears here every Thursday at 4:30, and his office is located right on the corner of 21st and O. Daniel Petrie and the folks at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors.
This broadcast is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute investment advice or a solicitation for advisory services by Daniel Petrie or MPWA Incorporated, DBA, Messmaker, and Petrie Wealth Advisors. The program host is a client and receives compensation and other financial benefits in connection with this advertisement, creating a conflict of interest. Experiences discussed may not be representative of other clients.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds, and you're overweight. Winner, winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you, with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you got to call Big Lou because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds too. Get a quote right now at 800-560-0301, 800-560-0301, or biglou.com.
Paid for by term provider.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk
I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The U.S. carried out another round of strikes on Iran on Wednesday, hours after President Trump said that recent Iranian attacks on ships in the Strait of Hormuz signaled the end of the fragile ceasefire. The action raised fears that the war in Iran could reignite, coming just a day after the U.S. military hit a variety of military sites and port facilities, following Iran's targeting of several merchant vessels off the coast of Oman. Kentucky's governor has written an open letter to Mitch McConnell asking the Republican senator to disclose more about his condition. It's been 3 weeks of silence from the 84-year-old McConnell since he was hospitalized June 14th in Washington, and that's led to rampant speculation about McConnell's prognosis and whether he'll return to the Senate when it reconvenes next week. This is SRN News.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like mine?
Current Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN Newsroom.
The ICE detention facility has been sold to the federal government, and some people in California City want the city to do something about it. At last night's Planning Commission meeting, though, protests were heard when the commission voted to uphold the facility site plans that were approved in February. The sale was about $732 million. Tamara Popoy gets a $110,000 bail after successful arguments from her lawyers Tuesday. She's charged in the June 20th early morning death of 66-year-old Gabriel Lopez Ortiz in a hit and run on Stockdale Highway at Callaway Drive that prosecutors say was caused by her being 3 times the legal limit of alcohol. Popoy is charged with gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, DUI, and hit and run, and has to wear an ankle monitor for now. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds, and you're overweight. Winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you, with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So, yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you got to call Big Lou because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds, too. Get a quote right now at 800-560-0301, 800-560-0301, or biglou.com.
Paid for by term provider. Look, folks, you already know that your garage door is a very important part of your home, from the overall look of the place to the safety and security it provides. So obviously, you should only trust the service, repair, and maintenance of your garage door to the pros at King Door Company. Their skill and product knowledge are unmatched in the industry, and that's no accident. The techs at King Door are rigorously trained at the King Door Academy. That's right. King Door has an in-house training facility to make sure your job is done right on the first try. They're trained in all the latest equipment, tools, and techniques. They even learn how to listen to customer concerns through role-playing exercises. And you'll see how well all this training works when they show up right on time in fully stocked service trucks with all the parts and equipment to service or repair any garage door. Like I said, your garage door is a very important part of your home, so leave it to the pros at King Door Company. Schedule your appointment today at kingdoor.com. King Door Company, the company with the pride of a lion.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Okay, have a seat. 842-5376. Our phone number 842-KERN. Again, you're cheating yourself if you don't watch us on YouTube. You get to see some of our guests that are live in studio. As you can see, those of you who are streaming, Ron Pierce from Mentor Field Museum has joined us. He's brought gifts. He brought us T-shirts. He's brought us a newspaper, literally from 1941, pre-World War II. But you can see that. That is what is the Shafter?
It's Shafter Press printed it for Minter Field.
Wow.
It's called the Wind Sock.
And Lieutenant Colonel Pyle is on the front page, and I'm almost certain. And wow, look at the picture of Franklin Roosevelt on the back. That's incredible. That really is. And an allusion to Italy losing their supply ship. You know, because again, if you're smoking weed during history, Italy was not our ally during World War II. Mussolini was our enemy at the time. That is amazing historical document to have. How is that obviously in display at the museum out there?
Yes, it is. It came in and we checked around. The United States Congress Library doesn't have a copy of it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. That is, I wouldn't even travel around with that, Ron. I'd keep that.
Well, we had it blueprinted.
Okay.
We had it digitalized.
Okay.
And this is a copy, but we have the original.
Okay.
In the safe.
That's amazing. That truly
But
is.
this has advertising from people in Shafter, Bakersfield, and everything. It is history to read.
Yeah. And people don't realize in July of 1941, this country had no idea we were going to war by the end of the year. In fact, the country was greatly divided on whether we should go back. Many Americans, like Joe Kennedy and even Charles Lindbergh, felt we just got back from saving Western Europe. Why are we doing this again?
Yeah.
So it's just amazing to go back in time like that.
Well, what's nice about this, or what you don't realize, there are names of 2 classes that are already flying at Minter Field, learning how to fly for the war that we weren't in.
Yeah. Because I think Roosevelt felt it was inevitable.
Yes.
Absolutely. So what's going on out at the museum?
Well, we've got Wings and Wheels coming up again in November the 7th. We have that. We will have Santa Claus flying in the first Saturday in December.
Nice.
That will round off the end of the year. We're always open from Fridays and Saturdays, 10 to 2. Admission is free.
Absolutely free.
Absolutely free. We love donations, but the admission is free.
Yeah. And it's so much history. I don't think, I've always said this, and things like Portrait of a Warrior should be mandatory for our school students to visit so they can have a true understanding of the rich history that exists right here in Bakersfield or Kern County.
Yes, it's next year I'll hit 90.
Really? Congratulations.
And this means something to me because I lived through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Tell us about the museum. I've been out there several times. When my good friend Jim was out there, we were out there quite a bit. In fact, we used to do shows from the museum, believe it or not, when I was at another station. And just talk about it a little bit. Describe it for the folks.
The museum is always funded by donations. We're all volunteers out there. You get somebody out there and they come in and they don't realize how rewarding it is to take people that come in from Australia, New Zealand, Germany, Russia, and go through the museum. We've also have a first copy of the surrender documents that Japanese signed in Tokyo Bay.
Wow, with Douglas MacArthur aboard the USS Missouri.
Yes, we have a first copy, and it's a full set. It's not just the signing of it, it's the other pages that tell, because everybody didn't speak English that were signing it.
All right.
So it's translated in different languages all throughout there. We've got the full set.
That's amazing. That really, really is. Talk a little bit about, we're talking with Ron Pierce from the Minter Field Museum out, is that technically Shafter?
That is Shafter. That is Shafter.
Okay.
Minter Field is actually a district in its own. They have a board that runs the airport, and they're kind enough to lease us a building that was used and built before probably, and I get probably, not probably, it was built before Pearl Harbor, and it housed the fire station.
Yeah.
We also have a ladder that was in the Olympic-sized swimming pool that Tarzan, Johnny Weissmuller.
Really? The original?
He dedicated the Olympic pool.
Is that right?
Yes.
He came up to Shafter, Johnny Weissmuller. who was a gargantuan star at the time.
Yes. Bob Hope played there twice.
Really?
Lucille Ball was there. There was all kinds of actors and people promoting the morale in World War II that came up there and did shows.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody did their part.
Yes,
it was
they
almost, it was obligatory that everybody somehow get involved, whether it was with the USO or traveling like Bob Hope did to different stations and entertaining the men, whatever it was, everybody tried to pitch in. Talk about some of the training that went on out there.
Well, they trained over 11,000 cadets to go fly in BT-13s. They also had some P-38s out there. They were guarded and in what they call a revetment, which is a place with dirt, high banked dirt all the way around it, so they could put the airplanes in there. So if we got bombed, they'd have to be a direct hit to do it, to damage them. That were stationed there to be able to guard the coast if they spotted a ship coming in that was not friendly.
Yeah, because there was fear after Pearl Harbor that, you know, an invasion both of the Hawaiian Islands and California was almost imminent, some thought.
Yes. We also have film of the BT-13s actually flying there during the war.
Wow, that's incredible. That really is. And are you still doing the annual air show?
Yeah, this is our Wings and Wheels. This is what we have here that we have for a fundraiser to keep the museum going. We're also,
I'll show that when you leave.
We're also trying to get enough donations and stuff to actually build or buy another hangar. We've run out of hangar space.
Is that
We've
right?
got more airplanes than we can stuff in our hangar.
Which is a good thing, but presents another issue, but that's a good thing.
It does.
Yeah, well, that's outstanding. How can folks contribute?
They can come out there. They can go on our website. There's the little card that they can do, or they can go on our website, Mentorfield Air Museum, and donate through that. Or I'd suggest them just to come out and see what we have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. It really is. I love the model displays of the aircraft carriers, and you would have the planes flying off the aircraft carriers in little model forms. It's amazing. It really is something that most high school kids should go out and visit.
And I am working on, and this is I'll let it out.
You're breaking a story?
I'm breaking a story.
All right, very good.
The Gossamer Condor is the first human-powered airplane to fly.
Yeah.
It flew in 1987.
Okay.
It's coming up next year, the 50 years.
And it's coming up here?
And we are going to have, we had a banquet one time about 3 years ago, but we have Brian Allen that flew it. We have probably Janice Brown Sullivan that flew the solar powered one out there. Last year, we filled an auditorium with over 300 people, and we expect that already.
Wow. Well, we got to have you back to talk about that.
Yes.
That is amazing. It's always fun to talk with you, Ron. Thank you so much. And thank you for the work that you do to keep the museum alive and relevant and getting folks out there and educating young people on our past. It's something that we lack dearly.
Yes.
You know, for these kids, if it happened before they were born, they don't know anything about it.
And it wasn't before I was born.
That's very true. Ron Pierce, everybody. We're going to take a quick time out. I'll get closer and show you guys the dates and time of this, and we'll talk about it leading all the way up until November. But in the meantime, we got to step aside, come right back. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a Wednesday, right here on News Talk 96.1 AM 1230, and we're streaming live at currentradio.com.
Thank you, sir. I will wear this tomorrow on the
Current
broadcast.
Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Premium Wireless. How did you get 30, 30, better get 30, better get 20, 20, 20, better get 20, 20, better get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month. So
visit mintmobile.com/radio. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
On BritBox, there is a place where stories twist like cobblestone roads. Grand manners hide secrets. And stakes are higher than seaside cliffs. Find places worth getting lost in on BritBox. Watch new series like The Other Bennett Sister from the world of Jane Austen and A Woman of Substance starring Golden Globe winner Brenda Blethyn. If you want to get away, you're in the right place. Stream the best of British TV on BritBox. Free trial at BritBox.com.
Next time you go to Luigi's, you must, and I mean you must begin in the deli. What started as a situation where Gino's grandfather or great-grandfather just wanted to feed fellow Italians in the neighborhood, and then became a little grocery store. And now Lynette Valprado has come back years ago and has absolutely transformed the deli. As I talk about, she's one of the best sommeliers you'll ever run into. Her specialty is Italian wines. Go in there, check out the merch. If you're a foodie, the deli is a place for you. Use all of the Luigi seasonings that I use in my own home. Then maybe go have a cocktail with Julie in the bar, head outside. With this kind of weather, you might want to stay inside with Liz and all the other incredible staffers at Luigi's restaurant in the World Delicatessen. But that's the way to start. In the deli, a little Prosecco, maybe a little Italian wine, a little merge. I'm just telling you, if you're a foodie, it's the place for you. Where would you rather be? Than Luigi's Restaurant and Old World Delicatessen, longtime sponsor of the Ralph Bailey Show.
All right, sir. Well, thanks again, and stay in touch.
I love days like these at the pool, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. I'm ready to make a splash with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza. Skyrizi is a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. At 4 months, most people saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe, and many were even 100% plaque-free. People also saw significant improvement in psoriasis symptoms of pain, redness, itching, and burning.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Now there's nothing on my skin thanks to Skyrizi, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230.
Hey, 842-537-6842-K. I want to thank our good friend Ron Pierce dropping by. And if you have not taken your kids out there to Minterfield, it's right off the 99, right there, whatever that Shafter exit is. Is that Lerdo? No, is it Lerdo? What is Shafter exit?
Lerdo.
Is it Lerdo? Lerdo? Yeah, I think it is. I used to work out there. It's no excuse. I used to be the correspondent for the Californian. I've talked about it hundreds of times. And I covered McFarland, Shafter, Delano, and Wasco, and I did it about a year and a half, and then I got hired as a staff writer. But in the year and a half that I lived there, I worked from Bakersfield. I lived in the Northeast at the time. And they were all accustomed to, because this was like it was one of the best things I thought the Californian did, and that was their coverage of the outer communities. And it's different the way different newspapers did it, because in fact, I got offered a job in York, Pennsylvania, doing essentially the same thing, but the way they did it, they had a weekend paper that was much like their daily paper that went out to the outlying communities. And I was going to be the managing editor of that paper. I was taking over for a young girl who I was going to take over for her. She had a beautiful townhouse, and it was a pretty good, it was about a $10,000 jump in pay. And to show you how stupid I was, I hated York. It looked like Gotham City. It was always dark and cloudy. It was kind of reminded me of like Pittsburgh. And then I had a couple of incidents while I was there visiting my good friend, Rob Walters. I've told you the story about the kid. He had on a black t-shirt and a big cotton ball on the front, and on the back it read, "Guess who picked it?" And so we had to leave the bar because I started having words with the guy, and I was like, we should go. We really should go. And then I found out that because when they offer you a job in newspaper, they have to find out if you can write. So when you go for an interview for a newspaper job, it's not just sit down and let's talk to you and look at your clips. They actually bring you out and they pay you for 3 days, where you're part of the staff for 3 days. They want to see you in action. They want to see you on deadline. You know, if you've written for a weekly newspaper or even a small newspaper like the Californian, maybe the deadline isn't as difficult as it is for a city that's like York, although we're probably bigger than York, Pennsylvania. And just so happens the day that I got there and the day that I started working, a guy took a hatchet to an elementary school and hatcheted. What's the verb for hatchet somebody? Hacked. So there's no hatch, no involved with the
I think it's hatch now.
Just hacked them up. Yeah, he hacked up a couple people. It's a true story. Snuck by the guards at the front desk, boop, boop, boop. And I forget my angle of the story was. And so then they did some research on this guy, and he was tied to the sheriff, who I then found out was on trial for a 1969 shooting during the Civil Rights Movement, where he shot a black woman in the back during a riot. And then I did a little more investigating, and there were Klan ties to York, Pennsylvania. In other words, I discovered that York, Pennsylvania was one of the most racist towns in the country. And I just said, $10,000 more to live in that city? No, not going to do it. Even Rob didn't live there much longer. He moved into Baltimore, and I think he retired finally in Tennessee. He was a managing editor for a newspaper in Tennessee. But I forgot exactly where I was going with all this. Where was I going with all this? Do you recall?
I do not.
Where this whole thing started? Anybody out there recall where this whole thing started?
Bueller.
Anyone? Well, I guess that's the end of the story then. 842-5376, 842-KERN. What do you got on the board?
So Trump is going to allow Ukraine to manufacture Patriot missiles. Doesn't he think the technology is going to get leaked out because China, Russia, and others?
I know nothing of this story. I wish I could comment. I have not heard this. I focused on the Iranian situation this morning. He spoke in Ankara in Turkey. I'm assuming he's leaving now. And he also addressed some other issues that I haven't even gotten into. One of the issues is he's not flying home on that Qatari plane. And it's going somewhere. He came up with some kind of lame excuse. But the press was really curious about that, as I was when I learned that. And what's your conclusion? Because my only conclusion is Secret Service or some agency was like, we're not so certain about this. You know, this thing's sitting here in Turkey, and, you know, I'm assuming they have no access, but I don't know, it seems very funky that he flew this thing all the way to Turkey and he's not flying it home. But that was one of the issues they had in the kind of morning briefing. What are you giggling about?
Someone had texted in and told us where we were going with that story. Newspaper deadlines.
Newspaper deadlines?
Working for a news media outlet.
But what does that have to do with anything? Oh, we were talking about Shafter and the fact that I was the correspondent out there. That's what we were talking about. Thank you. Appreciate
That's right, because
that.
we were getting on Laredo and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I was explaining how I should know because, I used to be the correspondent out there. And I loved it. I loved being a correspondent. You're an independent contractor. You get paid by the article. Back in the day, it was $50 for inside the paper article. And I think it was $100 for an A1 paper. And it was $75 for a B1 paper, meaning, there's A section. The B section is the local section. I forget what C was. I think D is sports. I think C used to be maybe arts and entertainment. I can't remember. But I loved being a correspondent. Absolutely loved it. Got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, made 4 phone calls to all the communities, to the fire department, the police department, make sure nothing burned down, nobody died. And then you have till about like 9 o'clock to come up with your own story out of one of those 4 communities. And when you're covering 4 communities, there's got to be one story for the day. And many times I would submit 2 stories a day, make $100 a week. And by Friday, I would not work unless there was something major going on. I'd wait till about 9:30. And then Tony Tarango and I'd have a tea time out of Wasco about noon, 1 o'clock. And I loved life. And I think the only reason that I got hired, and I've talked about this, and you can tell your children or your grandchildren, because I doubt they're listening, but there are 2 ways that I got the gig. And one belongs to Judith Pratt, my advisor when I was at Cal State. I was the managing editor of the newspaper. And I've told this, I'm sorry if I'm boring you if you heard it 1,000 times, but it's a great story for young people. It's about getting a job and showing your face and showing and being reliable. And we used to send the low guy on the totem pole to send our papers to the Californian. And Judith Pratt came to me and said, I thought you wanted to work for the Californian. And I said, I do, for a little bit. And then I'm off to the LA Times and superstardom. And she said, then why don't you take the papers down and meet the editors that you want to work for? And I was like, that's absolutely brilliant. And a guy who used to literally wear pajamas to school would put on a shirt and a tie and some pants on Wednesdays when the paper came out. And I'd take down 4 or 5 or 6 copies. I would personally hand them out because we would just take a bunch, sit them on the desk, say, hey, here's our paper. No, I would take them out individually. I had Mr. Trahi, city editor. My name is Ralph Bailey. I'm a senior at Cal State Bakersfield. Here is our newspaper. And on B2, you see a column that I wrote. You might want to take a look at that. Good to see you. And I do that every Wednesday. And lo and behold, when an internship came available, they hired me because they knew me. They knew I was reliable. They knew I knew how to dress properly. They knew I knew how to respect their positions. And then I got hired as a correspondent and loved life, loved it. Just writing on my own, being my own guy. And I was one of the few correspondents because, there was one up in Taft, there was one up at Tehachapi, and I was the only guy that wouldn't live out there. And they started getting a little chirpy. So I had to make a decision because I thought Delano was too far. It came down, it was delayed because McFarland was out. If you're old people, you remember there was the time where they believed that the electrical grids out there were causing cancer. So McFarland was out. So it was between Delano, Shafter, and Wasco. Wasco I was leaning towards because of the golf course at the time. Joe Haggerty was out there. Delano was out because it was a little too far, and I absolutely fell in love with Shafter. Absolutely fell in love with Shafter. That's when, I was just talking about this the other day with some friends, that's when Ralph Frugoletti owned Giovanni's. And I was just told the other night that it's still Giovanni's, but it's obviously not Ralph Frugoletti's, so it ain't the same. But of the 3 restaurants that Ralph once owned, Frugoletti's, Bootleggers, and Fragotti's, I always thought Giovanni's was the best. And I damn near moved to Shafter and got offered the job as a staff writer. Only reason I never moved to Shafter. We head into the 5. We'll recap our top story of the day. We are back at war with the Iranians. We'll tell you the story of the chaos out in California City. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. Don't go anywhere.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN, 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
I don't know what I'm going to do about
A battle is
steps
underway
for the
in
rest of
Maine
the
to
week.
replace the Democratic Party's nominee for the U.S. Senate.
Graham Plattner is the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate in Maine, but some Democrats are waiting for him to resign. Plattner has denied the allegations, but hasn't said whether he'll step aside for another Democrat to run against Republican Senator Susan Collins in November. Among the possible replacements, Maine Governor Janet Mills and former state health official Nirav Shah. There's no mechanism for Democrats to remove Plattner from the ballot, and his deadline to withdraw is July 13th at 5 p.m. I'm Donna Reuter.
Former Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan was spared from prison Wednesday for ushering a Mexican defendant out of her courtroom to evade U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. Attorney Jason Lukzak says he is glad Judge Dugan was spared from prison.
She's lost so much throughout this process. The collateral consequences to her were great, and we appreciate that the judge took that into consideration whenever he sentenced her to a fine only in this case.
A federal judge fined her $5,000 and cited her otherwise law-abiding life in issuing the sentence. Kentucky's governor has written an open letter to Mitch McConnell asking the Republican senator to disclose more about his condition. It's been 3 weeks of silence from the 84-year-old McConnell since he was hospitalized June 14th in Washington, and that's led to rampant speculation about McConnell's prognosis and whether he'll return to the Senate when it reconvenes next week. Governor Beshear says in a letter Wednesday to the former Senate Republican leader that Kentuckians have grown increasingly concerned about the current state of your health. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 576 points. The NASDAQ dropped 21. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
When I was feeling the stress of too much credit card debt, I looked at two different options: debt settlement and debt management. They may sound the same, but guess what? They're not. Debt settlement seemed like a quick fix, but I found out it would destroy my credit, create tax headaches, and hit me with huge fees. They actually told me to stop paying my bills. No way, not me. Then I turned to a debt management plan developed by the team at Trinity. They worked with my creditors, lowered my payments, reduced my interest, saved me thousands, and paid off my debt. And Trinity is a Christian company, which is important to me.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
Tensions in the Middle East influence the market.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update.
Gangs doing gang things just south of Kern County. I'm Chris Davis. Several members of India-based gangs have been indicted, and U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley says a person was kidnapped and brought to an apartment in Fresno for extortion purposes as part of the international gang activity.
The indictment also charges Bishnoi, Brar, and others with trafficking cocaine and methamphetamine, including by stealing hundreds of pounds of drugs from rival drug trafficking groups.
He did not make it clear why the apartment in Fresno was chosen for the activity, nor if anyone local is expected to be charged. The site plan for the California ICE detention facility was upheld at a Tuesday meeting of the City Planning Commission, despite much protest and the sale of that facility by CoreCivic, a private prison management company, to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and that sale is now complete. That was for about $732 million. The company also sold the federal government the facility near San Diego and is expected to keep managing both for now. An ankle monitor will be required for Tamara Papoy, who is charged with driving drunk at 3 times the legal limit and hitting and killing 66-year-old Gabriel Lopez Ortiz, who was riding a bicycle on the morning of June 20th at Stockdale Highway and Callaway Drive. Papoy was granted a $110,000 bail Tuesday, despite arguments from prosecutors that she is a danger and a flight risk. Police say she left the scene and came back before leaving again. Five Below, Boot Barn, Sprouts, Marshalls, and Ross's are some of the stores that'll be occupying the new City Lights shopping center on the east side of Bakersfield, which is under construction and expected to open in the spring. An announcement from the company Tuesday says 90% of the place has already been leased out by tenants. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. KERN.
Welcome to the rest world. In a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
Too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
The Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Final hour of the broadcast on this Wednesday, 8th day of July. We still got lots to do on the final hour. Tomorrow's a Thursday. We want to speak to the Republican Attorney General candidate. And I believe Mr. Turnipseed has returned. I think he's back in town. And, of course, our money man, Daniel Petrie, will join us as well. And then on Friday, Mr. Bentley, Rick Bentley, KGET entertainment reporter, and Kernak, the Magnificent, will join us as well. But in the meantime, let's check the board, see what you all are talking about. You got anything up there?
Yes, I do.
What do you got?
This first one just says Susan Collins is a rhino.
Well, she's better than the Democratic alternative. What are you going to do? And what does that mean, rhino? She supports the president 96, 97% of the time. I mean, I just don't understand what truly is, what does it mean to be a Republican? Is Donald Trump a real conservative Republican? Really? Not under the standards that I grew up on. Staying out of wars, not believing in tariffs. Have you ever heard the Ronald Reagan rant about tariffs? If you looked at Donald Trump's policies and compared them to Ronald Reagan's, and you knew nothing about either man, you would not say that Donald Trump is a conservative. And I know many people that are finally coming to my side of the table that I don't think he gives a damn about the Republican Party. I truly don't. I don't think he gives a damn about the midterms, which he's said out loud. Now, his supporters have obviously said, well, this is what he meant by that. What do you mean what he meant by that? He said he doesn't care about the midterms. Is there like something you could read in between the lines in that statement? I don't know. But, you know, I don't know what that declaration means, calling a radio show and calling some woman 3,000 miles from here. And the only woman that can stop us from a Democrat and the flipping of the United States Senate, I don't know where that gets us. And if you are a Republican, and if you're hoping that we lose that seat, well, then guess what? You're looking at a Democratic Supreme Court. I absolutely disagree with my good friend Clayton Campbell. I think they are going to get rid of the filibuster. I think the dangers of going back and forth have always troubled the Senate. That's one of the reasons that they stayed away from that, knowing that you're not always going to be in power, and that simple majority will be on the side of the other team sooner or later. But I believe that this Trump court has Democrats' heads exploding so badly that they're willing to roll the dice, that they can keep power long enough to, in their opinion, straighten out the country from where Donald Trump has taken it. What else you got?
There's no such thing as an opening suitcase.
Open and shut.
That's what they're putting out as an opening suitcase, Ralph. And sadly, not as a direct result of what we've all seen in the aftermath of the Carmelo Anthony case. I would be scared of who is getting put on the next jury. In any case, there are too many people in this world, and we don't want justice, but we want revenge, and think the jury is a great way to deliver it.
What? Yeah, we might have to have a meeting. We might have to have a meeting and sit down. How important are the text messages to this radio broadcast?
That's up to you.
Because I'm just growing weary.
Some of these are very,
Some of them are spot on, and we get information, and they help us out, and they tighten me up when I make egregious errors. And yes, it plays a role, but I'm just growing weary of just trying to understand what you're saying, let alone respond. Read that once again.
All right, I'm gonna try one more time here.
Yeah, one more time. There's no such thing as an open and shut case.
That's what they
technically that's true, and you're just echoing what Clayton Campbell said. But I'm not an attorney, and I think there are open and shut cases. The O.J. Simpson case was an open and shut case. Now that was a case of revenge. That had nothing to do with O.J. Simpson. That had to do with Johnny Cochran. That had to do with the way where African Americans at the time, and many still believe, that the judicial system does not work for us, and that it's almost aimed at us. So that was a revenge verdict. Everybody knows that. Had nothing to do with OJ. And I hate to say this because it makes my skin crawl when people say this, because it mostly comes from white people that don't know anything about being black. In fact, there is an employee here, I'm not going to name any names, no, I'm not, who once told me, Ralph, you're as black as I am. On my father's grave, a white person that works here looked me in the face and said, you're as black as I am. And I'm like, why? Because I could beat you in golf, because I'm a better swimmer than you are, because I could probably beat you in ping pong, badminton, all these sports that black folks aren't supposed to be a part, that I know more about politics and journalism than you do. That makes me white somehow. You know what I'm saying? Secondly, what's the other part? The open and shut, what's the second part?
So, and sadly, now as a direct result of what we've seen in the aftermath of the Carmelo Anthony case, I would be scared of who gets put on the next jury in any case.
So what are you saying, that the Carmelo Anthony jury got it wrong? Or are you trying to imply that the Carmelo Anthony jury came to their conclusion because they were all white? If you're going to text, I don't know how to, I was going to say learn how to write better, but how does that work? Try to be more clear and concise. I don't understand what you're saying. I really don't. The Carmelo Anthony case would have been adjudicated the same way had 9 black people been on the jury, in my opinion. I think it was an open and shut case. And the reason that black people, one of the things that nobody's really talking about, if you really want to dig that back up, why many of the black jurors were tossed from that jury, is because many of them openly said, yeah, I'd have different. In fact, if they had put me on the jury, I probably would have said, yeah, I would have problems giving a 17-year-old black kid with a 3.75 GPA, no matter what he did, 35 years in prison. I have a problem with it. I'd probably be able to do it, but I have a problem with it. Probably. And you know what? Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Thank you. I'm leaving. You know what I'm saying? But nobody really wants to talk about that. They just simply want to talk about race. And I'm not going to re-adjudicate that case, but that was the proper decision. Now, should the kid get 35 years? We can debate that. And not that he's going to do 35 years, he's going to do 17 years. But again, as I've said, the only people that let Carmelo Anthony down were his mother and his father. Because A, obviously they failed in raising him. A. B, they should have done what Kevin Mays did. Kevin Mays, the local pimp who graduated from Cal State, was a basketball player there, was a coach. We find out he's into kiddie porn. He keeps illegal weapons on him and drugs and meth, and he pimps out human beings and takes their money. And you know what he did, facing open and shut case? His smart and gifted attorney, David Torres, cut a deal. Cut a deal. And that's exactly what the Anthony family should have done. Honey, you know he's not guilty. I know he's not guilty. But there's a really, really, really good chance our boy could be convicted. We better cut a deal. And he'll be, what, 21, 22 when he gets out. This will be his first offense. We'll write a book about it. He'll go back to school and we'll live happily ever after. No, that's not what they did. They wanted a trial. And I don't know this because I couldn't pick these people out if they walked by right here, but it's my belief they wanted a trial because they wanted to beef up that $650,000 fund that they created that didn't go to their son's defense, because now he's claiming he's indigent and doesn't have money for his appeal, despite the fact that the family just got this sudden infusion of over $500,000. Because what I'm not telling you is that they also got a brand new house and a brand new Range Rover, but no money for the child. So I don't know what you're implying by bringing up the Anthony case and how that has anything to do with Charlie Kirk and this Robinson kid. But if you're even implying that that boy was found guilty because a bunch of white redneck racists wanted to send him to jail, you could not be more wrong. You could not possibly be more wrong. One more, let's take a break.
The Ray Mata child torture murder case is open and shut, in my opinion.
You damn skippy it is. You damn skippy it is. You god doggone right about that. Now that was an intelligent text message, so let's take a break on that high note. Although, isn't he trying to get a mental diversion? Have they ruled on that yet?
Good question. I don't know.
I haven't been following on that. I know he's seeking one. I don't think he's going to get one. But yeah, they both should never, if there was ever, because you guys know, or maybe you don't, but I'm not a huge fan of the death penalty, but if it were ever to be exercised, the two of them, the biological dad and the mom, should be fried, absolutely fried, put before a shooting squad, firing squad. Well, let's go back to the 19th century. That's what I'm saying. That's why you should YouTube if you don't know what just happened. Too bad. You should YouTube. Quick time out. We're coming right back. It's TRBS on a Wednesday right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. And we're streaming live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 90.
Casey.
Good till the last mic drop.
A educational conversation between J.D. Vance and Bill Maher. This is the opportunity. This is the door that's been opened. You got 13 members now of the Democrat Party that's saying, hey, we like capitalism. And this is the opportunity for other Democrats that agree with Bill Maher that let's take our party back and let's get off this road to socialism.
Weekdays 9 to noon, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
You know, there are two places, two iconic restaurants when I hear people that are born and raised here and they're over the age of 25 or 30 and they say, I've never been to either Luigi's or Casey's Steakhouse. I am really like physically taken aback. But it is fun, and I've done this several times this past year, taking new friends to Casey's Steakhouse for the first time. It's a restaurant that's going on 90 years, and as I've talked about, nobody, I don't think, back in the 80s and the 90s and what was once considered the heyday of the restaurant could have ever imagined that a young girl like Cassie Biddle, owner-operator, could take this place to where it is now, because it's light years ahead of where it was in the 20th century. She's brought in Chef Daniel, and I've talked about him almost daily, how he's expanded the menu, that it's not strictly a steakhouse. They've got Italian food. The fettuccine Alfredo is outstanding. The lobster mac and cheese is infamous. It's so rich and incredible. And I've told you about the Stockyard next door. It's been an absolute game changer for meetings, election night meetings. They have a banquet room. You can have craft cocktails, live music on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturday nights. And of course, Bobby and Jimmy providing live music in the main restaurant Tuesday through Saturday. Beat the heat, head to F Street, Casey's Steakhouse, longtime sponsor of the Ralph Bailey Show.
Meet Paul Sheldon's client, Dr. Roland Rodriguez.
Hello, this is
Field General Surgeon Dr. Roland Rodriguez, client and friend of Mr. Paul Sheldon. It is my great pleasure and privilege to relate to all of you my absolute exemplary experience with Team Paul Sheldon. I have also referred a number of my colleagues to Paul Sheldon's office, only to receive the most stellar feedback from my doctor friends regarding the office's expert navigation through the complex maze that is Medicare. And even though Paul Sheldon himself is now facing some temporary health challenges, his longstanding and most experienced and expertly trained team of ladies, Christine, Kelly, and Lynn, continue to masterfully guide the clients through the complicated world of Medicare. You most definitely could not possibly do any better than to reach out to Paul Sheldon several months before turning 65. Thank you.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Today, we tip our wrench to Rock Auto customer Noah.
My first car was a 2001 Dodge Neon with a blue wing, and it happened to match my high school sweetheart, who's now my wife, her black 2005. So my uncle has been in the industry for well over 25 years. He recommended Rock Auto immediately to buy my first set of brakes. I would recommend Rock Auto just because it's simple, it's easy to find the parts you're looking for, it's all at a good price.
All the parts your car will ever need, Rock Auto. Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
So if your phone is blowing up, the axe has officially fallen on Graham Plattner. I will read from Alex Kosoff and Dan Marica and the Washington Post. Graham Plattner, the populist political newcomer who Democrats had hoped could flip a critical U.S. Senate seat in Maine, ended his campaign Wednesday night after a woman he previously dated publicly accused him of sexual assault. Why are we using the term sexual assault? She was raped. She was raped. Is that suddenly an ugly word? And if it is, good, because it should be. Why are we watering down what these animals do to women? Sexual assault sounds like dude got fresh and got slapped in the face. Rape is rape. I really don't understand this. Sexual assault. What the hell does that mean? That could be anything. That's a big umbrella. But rape is pretty clear. Excuse me if I show a little anger, I apologize. Quote, we believe for the movement to continue, it can't be me, and for that reason, we are suspending campaign operations, Plattner said. The development, a month after Plattner won the Democratic nomination to take on Republican Senator Susan Collins, injects fresh chaos into Democrats' uphill battle to retake the Senate in November. Democrats need to win 4 seats held by Republicans and hold their own to win control of the chamber. Democratic Party leaders have until July 27 to decide on a new standard bearer in one of the marquee races of the midterm elections, as Collins tries to hold on for a 6th term. Wow. You know how long Senate seats are? You know how long a Senate seat is, Chris?
10 years?
6.
6?
6. So she's been in there almost as long as you've been alive.
Yeah,
quarter of a century. She has been in the Senate. And I'm not suggesting that we go to term limits. This was talked last night on the Abby Phillips show, or that there should be an age limit because there's a situation going on in Kentucky with Mitch McConnell, who has suddenly disappeared, and they're giving absolutely no word on what he is. I've got some great audio. I hope we have time to play it. If we don't, we'll play it tomorrow, where Marjorie Taylor Greene just when you think she's regained her sanity, she's claiming that Elaine Chao, who's a former Secretary of Treasury under the Reagan administration and is married to Mitch McConnell, she apparently is in China, meeting with Chinese officials, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is accusing her of being a spy. What is her evidence? Who leaves their husband as he's dying to go to China? Now, that's a great question. I'm not sure if it's a scintilla of evidence that she's a secret agent. Bad wife? Okay. Yeah, she's good for the crime there. Because apparently, according to insiders, Mitch is obviously not doing well. I don't know if Scott Jennings, who again, I'm sure we'll talk about it in about 35 minutes, it's got to be at the topic of his show at some point. He claims they had a 20-minute conversation with him. Democrats and even some Republicans are a little dubious about that because they think he's kind of, out of it. And I heard somebody claim that he had a stroke on television. Remember when he couldn't speak? He was doing a press conference and Senator Mitch and John Thune, the majority leader, literally had to get his staff to be like, come get your boy, come get, and they kind of wheeled him off, which, if you were a physician and you told me that, I'd say, yeah, okay, I believe you, because that is pretty symptomatic of a stroke. So I think this is going to become an issue. These people hanging around for 6 and 7 terms. John Cornyn was vying for his 6th term in the Senate. And we've talked about this all week, how these people just get stupid rich while they're in there. How can you not get rich after 20, 25 years in Washington? You know what I'm saying? Somebody is buttering your bread. But I still will fight. I just can't get on board with term limits. I just can't, because I think we have them. They're called elections. And Susan Collins has been susceptible. This isn't the first time she's been in a tight race. 6 years ago, she almost got beat. In fact, 6 years ago, they predicted she was going to get beat. And somehow she pulls it out. And you heard one of the texters, one of the listeners, calling her a rhino. I bet that caller doesn't even know where she went to college. I bet he doesn't know how she voted on anything. But yet, perception is everything anyway. All right, so back to Plattner. That's about it. Unfortunately, in this story, they don't get into the 4 people. And not that it matters, because none of us, it's Maine. So if I gave you the names, I could say Chris Burdick. You wouldn't know who the hell it was. So it doesn't really matter, I suppose. But it's going to be interesting to see how they maneuver this, because their problem is if they just anoint somebody, our memories aren't that bad. And remember the last time the Democrats anointed somebody, didn't end so well. Remember that whole Kamala Harris 107-day fiasco? Yeah, well, part, I think, of the reason that the turnout wasn't as great as there was is because I think some Democrats resented the fact that they're being told who they're going to vote for. And so my guess, because again, my predictions are based on what would I do? I'm fairly bright. I'm not that smart. I'm certainly not a genius. I'm not even that smart, but I'm not stupid. So what would I do if I were the Democratic Party right now? I would have a mini primary. I really would. It's chaotic. Again, they only have less than a month, but I would get started on it. Where are we? Wednesday? I'd have it start by Monday. I'd have it in motion on Monday. And we'll spend maybe 48 hours getting candidates, and the election starts on Wednesday. Have a debate that following weekend with the number of candidates, or maybe take a committee and boil the candidates down to 4. But however they do it, in my opinion, if they expect to even compete for that seat, it's got to be handpicked by the constituents. If it's anointed by the Democratic Party in Maine, no. Ain't going to work. Ain't going to work. They'll stay home. Don't tell us who we have to vote for. We wanted. Remember, Plattner won with 72% of the vote. 7 out of 10 Mainers voted for this guy. They're still pissed to some degree. You don't think all 72% are happy that he's gone, do you? Quick timeout, final half hour. I'd stick around if I you.
On Keith Peters in Washington, Democrat Graham Plattner says he plans to withdraw from the Maine U.S. Senate race after an allegation of sexual assault. The Maine Democratic Party, which by law is responsible for naming a replacement, announced it'll move forward with holding a nominating convention to choose a new nominee. The U.S. carried out another round of strikes on Iran on Wednesday, hours after President Trump said that recent Iranian attacks on ships in the Strait of Hormuz signaled the end of the fragile ceasefire. The action raised fears that the war in Iran could reignite, coming just a day after the U.S. military hit a variety of military sites and port facilities following Iran's targeting of several merchant vessels off the coast of Oman.
We ended up winning anyway.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 576 points. More details at SRNnews.com.
Just to get some work. It's 6-3. You need 3
Are
out.
you carrying more than $10,000 in credit card debt?
I was just like,
Kern Radio. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230.
But then at the same time, I knew
headlines from the KERN newsroom.
In fact, I thought we were going to win last night.
The detention facility has been sold to the federal government, and some people in California City want the city to do something about it. At last night's planning commission meeting, though, protests were heard when the commission voted to uphold the facility site plans that were approved in February. The sale was for about $732 million. Tamara Popoy gets a $110,000 bail after successful arguments from her lawyers Tuesday. She's charged in the June 20th early morning death of 66-year-old Gabriel Lopez Ortiz in a hit-and-run on Stockdale Highway at Callaway Drive that prosecutors say was caused by her being 3 times the legal limit of alcohol. Popoy is charged with gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, DUI, and hit-and-run, and has to wear an ankle monitor for now. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour, and when it breaks, on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230.
The 3 All-Stars are up with nobody out. Bay Alarm celebrates 80 years of security. For the Central Valley, that means local service, including burglar and fire alarm systems, 24/7 in-house monitoring, and custom security designed to work with business operations. Bay Alarm has real people rooted in your community, looking out for your business. After 8 decades and 3 generations of family ownership, our promise is still the same. We got you. Learn more at bayalarm.com.
Are you looking for a hospital that truly cares for your health and well-being? At Good Samaritan Hospital, they provide high-quality medical detox, psychiatric services, and medical and surgical care. They accept most insurances, including Medi-Cal, Medicare, and Kern Family. They offer Kern County's longest-standing inpatient detox program with dual diagnosis that combines medical care and withdrawal management all under one roof. Learn more at GoodSamaritanHospital.com or call 661-215-7500. Good Samaritan Hospital. They care for their community.
First Look with Scott Cox. Morning 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Thursday edition of the First Look program, it looks like there might be a little hiccup with our stand-down situation with Iran, so you might want to gas up your car sooner rather than later. We got the latest on the FIFA, the human foosball. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Yeah. Number 60? Is that what's his name? He's right in. I think next kid. I think when he gets number 60. No, I close it. Hey Siri. No, not Diaz. No. Hey Siri, show me the doctor. See who has something to give away. I'd ask the audience who is number 60 for the Dodgers, who is pitching really well, coming out of the bullpen for us. But now I just have to look it up. Edgardo Enriquez. Been pitching really well for us. I was just telling Randy that Mr. Diaz is about to start his rehab. Is he in there with you?
No, I just can hear hot from all the way up here.
Well, of course you can. Of course you can. It's Rand Dizzle. It's Rand Dizzle. The only human being that's louder than Ralph Bailey. The only person in this building that's louder than I am. Is that fair?
Yeah, that could be fair.
And I realize that I'm not the oldest member of our staff any longer.
Any longer?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
True.
He's a lot older than I am, too, by the way. A lot. 842-537-6842 KERN. So they had chaos out in California City. And I know I've got listeners out in California City, but why would you live in California City? I mean, I know that's a horrible thing to say, but what? Okay, all right. It just seems like there's always chaos going on out there. The two kids that went missing that we finally declared dead, and the bad parents, and the meth, and the wackiness with their municipal government. It just seems like there's no good news that comes out of Cal City. It seems like. And last night they packed the city council chambers complaining, and I don't blame them, about DHS purchasing a detention center that they intend to have out there. And I don't know if they're doing it because they are anti-ICE. I would doubt that. It's kind of the not in my neighborhood, not my lawn kind of thing. But it was utter chaos. Here is some audio from KGT 17 who out and covered this. And this is Ronald Smith, one of the city council members, and you can get a sense for the chaos that was going on out there.
This is an unsafe meeting. There's 103 people in this building. Maximum occupancy is 92. Ma'am, I appreciate you not touching me. I believe that's assaulting when you touch me, okay? So kindly don't touch me, okay? So this is an unsafe environment. Look right now, if there's a fire, you can't even get through here. So if the camera could show this, this is unsafe. It's not fair to our citizens.
Did you hear in the middle there where he was being interviewed by the tall kid? Oh, I forget his name, and I just met him a couple of months ago. But they've got some really fine young reporters over there, Mike Trahi and Derek Jeffries, the general manager. And we can play it one more time if you missed it. He's in the middle of the interview, and there's some woman behind him, and he's warning her not to touch him because that's assault. Like, when I heard that, I was like, okay, I was on your side for a second because it is dangerous to have more people than the fire department will allow. And if there is an earthquake or a fire, more likely an earthquake than a fire. But if there is an earthquake, guess what people are going to do? They're going to stampede out of that damn room, and you're going to have some injuries just from people knocking over one another. So it is a dangerous element. He's absolutely right. But when somebody touches you and you turn around and insist that it's assault, it's a salt shaker on the table. It's not a physical attack. Give me a break. Listen closely once more.
Meetings. There's 103 people in this building. Maximum occupancy is 92. Ma'am, I appreciate you not touching me. I believe that's assaulting when you touch me, okay? So kindly don't touch me, okay? So this is an unsafe environment. Look right now, if there's a fire, you can't even get through here. So if the camera could show this, this is unsafe. It's not fair to our citizens.
Well, at least he was polite about it. I mean, and you know where I'm going to go. Chris knows where I'm going to go. Cultural differences. Cultural differences. At least he was polite about it. Ma'am, I'd appreciate it if you didn't touch me. That's assault. Because you know what a brother would have said. Well, you probably don't. But being a brother, I can tell you what a brother would have said. Touch me again. Go, dude, I want you to touch me again. Go ahead. Uh-huh.
See what happens.
See, well, I wasn't going to go there because those are the famous words of Carmelo Anthony, but yeah, they throw that in there too. And that's what I said when we talked about Carmelo Anthony. It's unfortunately part of our culture. But I just thought I don't even know why I added that to the situation. Has absolutely nothing to do with the detention center, but I just thought that was a bit comical. Do it again. See if I don't touch me. I knock the dentures right out of your mouth, woman. Sorry. I don't know. What is the population of California City? Hey Siri, what is the population of California City in Kern County?
14,414.
14,000?
That's what I'm saying.
That's not a tiny community. It really isn't. That's a fairly significantly large community in Kern County. Right? I bet there's not. Look up Shafter. What do you got in Shafter? I bet Shafter doesn't have 14,000 people.
24,500.
24,000?
24,575 people.
Wow.
As of, I believe this is 2024.
I would have never guessed that. So what is our largest community? Delano? Maybe Tehachapi? I don't know. What do y'all got? What do you think is our largest community outside of Bakersfield? What's bigger, Lamont or Arvin?
I'd say Arvin.
I would bet Arvin. Yeah.
Let's find out.
Let's find out.
Let's see. Bakersfield's obviously the largest. Second would be Delano at about 51,000.
49,000 being Filipino. I'm sorry. That was ridiculous and unnecessary, and I apologize. Say what now?
Sorry. 3, 4, and 5 go Ridgecrest. I don't know why I can't say that.
Ridgecrest is third?
That's what they're saying at 28,000.
Wow, I'd have never guessed that.
Then Wasco at 27, and Oildale, they're counting at 36, but I don't count that. That's Bakersfield still, technically.
They're saying 36,000 in
Oildale alone.
Yeah, that's Bakersfield.
That's Bakersfield still.
That's like
that actually would be larger than both Ridgecrest and Wasco.
So then why don't they have it at second?
I think it's because they're qualifying as part of Bakersfield.
Yeah. That's like, saying that Inglewood isn't Los Angeles.
Right.
And it's not technically, but it is. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some communities that are Los Angeles. Brentwood is Los Angeles, even though it's got its own. There's some communities that have their own municipalities. Because I've said that my whole life. There is really no Los Angeles, if you want to know the truth. There is no Los Angeles, other than really where my mother lives, downtown. Maybe you can call that Los Angeles. But other than that, it's just a bunch of communities. I grew up in Ladera Heights, or you can live out in Palos Verdes. I worked in Culver City. I worked in Inglewood. I went to school in Sherman Oaks and Brentwood. These are all just tiny little communities spread out amongst Los Angeles County. And it's funny to hear, you'll hear people from Anaheim say, I'm from Los Angeles. Oh, really? What part? Anaheim. You ain't from LA. That even LA County. What you talking about? I'm from West Covina. I'm from LA. What part? West Covina. West Covina? That ain't LA. And it's like, I'm from Bakersfield. Well, I'm from Oildale. Oh, that's Bakersfield. Oh, yeah. Okay, I get it. Where are you from? I'm from Bakersfield. What part? Ridgecrest. That ain't Bakersfield. But I would have never guessed that Ridgecrest is the largest.
Third largest.
Well, Delano. Delano, then what was second?
Delano is second. Ridgecrest is third at 28. Wasco is 26. And then Shafter would be the fifth.
So what was number one?
Delano. Besides us.
Okay, so let's do this again now.
Bakersfield is technically number one.
Well, we're not counting Bakersfield.
Right.
We're not counting Bakersfield. So number one is Delano.
Right.
Number two is Ridgecrest.
Yes.
Number three is
Wasco.
Ooh, I love Wasco. I could have lived in Wasco. It was a little too far, particularly when they had the golf course. The golf course was fun. It really was. And I had a great bar. And four?
Shafter.
I think the finest community in Kern County, if you ask me. If you live in Shafter, you're lucky. It's a beautiful, clean city. I think they've got by far, the best municipal government, by far, for decades, since I covered them in the 90s. I think they clearly have the best municipal, most logical, common sense municipal government, even better than Bakersfield, by far, if you ask me. And finally, after Shafter, Arvin's bigger than Lamont.
19,871.
Yeah, I figured that.
These are updated from 2026. I found different ones.
Yeah. And then I assume Lamont would be after Arvin, or no?
Actually, no. They have McFarland next and then Cal City.
Really?
Yeah.
So Lamont is just a tiny little community then.
Yeah, and then Tehachapi, Taft, and Maricopa. They didn't even make the 10, technically.
Lamont didn't? Yeah, I guess when you think about it, it is kind of small. Used to have one of the best Mexican restaurants in town. I don't know, I haven't been out there in 10, 15 years, but they used to have the single best Mexican restaurant in town. God, it would be fun to go out there. They even had a little hotel that I stayed in one night because it was just ridiculous to try to drive back into town. Let's go ahead and take our final break of the night. Tomorrow's Thursday. We get to meet the Republican Attorney General candidate tomorrow. Thank you, Stan Ellis, for all your work and working that out for us. I think that's because Angela Barton's through with me. I ran into her over there at that mall, and she brought up bringing him on the show, and I think she had to stand to it because I kind of fell off Chad Bianco, and that was her guy. But I could be wrong. But I appreciate Mr. Ellis getting a hold of me and working that out for us. Plus, Mr. Turnipseed returns from vacation, I do believe. But you know my memory, so don't count on me. But I do know for a fact that we'll talk with Daniel Petrie via the Rogers Brandon Global Telephone Network. But keep it locked. Scott Jennings at the top of the hour. And as I mentioned, I'm sure at some point during his broadcast, he'll talk about his former boss, Mitch McConnell, who has been MIA for about a month. And of course, this comes in the wake of Tom Keene, the congressman who disappeared for 4 months and then came back and claimed it was depression. What does that mean? Were you locked up in some asylum? And how do Congress members get to do, once again, things we couldn't dream of doing? Like, okay, take a couple of days because you're depressed. We got to recognize mental health and go see a therapist. But 4 months, a quarter of the year he took off, and now he expects to be reelected. Quick timeout, final of the night. Again, Scott Jennings at the top of the hour. But in the meantime, you're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1, AM 1230, and we stream live at KernRadio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Maxwell in the morning. Good till the last mic drop.
Judge blocks the Virginia law barring ICE agents from wearing a mask. Can you believe that? Can you believe they have to have a law prohibiting masks? That's the insanity going on. A judge ruled that it's likely unconstitutional. All they had to do was get a message from the DOJ. Excuse me, but that's unconstitutional. Go away. You know, swat them like a fly.
Weekdays 9 to noon, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
From the people who brought you It's the Dog Park comes.
Your dog is limping, but she seems fine. Plus, you've heard they can fake it just to get what they want. So what's the deal now? You're being gaslit.
Protect your dog from injury and illness with Progressive Pet Insurance.
Oh, now she switched legs. What a diva.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Coverage subject to policy terms.
Back to school starts now. Get long-lasting battery life on the Dell XPS laptop powered by Series 3 Intel Core so you can work from anywhere. Now starting at $699 with exclusive student pricing starting at $599. Complete your setup with savings on select monitors and must-have electronics and accessories. Limited time deals and free shipping on PCs and more await you at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head.
The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask like 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me.
Yeah,
Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day. No one can beat us, no one can touch us. You won't find better prices. Shop and compare, we don't care. Take a look our way and come into Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Pet stains on your carpet? Carpet Outlet Plus has everything you need to make your floors pet-proof. With over 100 in-stock waterproof floors, Carpet Outlet Plus can solve your pet problems for good. We also stock over 50 colors of pet-perfect carpet. Call, click, or come by today for your free in-home estimate. Don't forget, for the do-it-yourselfer, we also offer free next-day delivery on all qualifying stock
And
floors.
ask him, how do I set up?
CarpetOutletPlus.com and apply for 12 months no
account.
interest financing. Carpet Outlet Plus, 3.5 blocks west of 99 on Rosedale Highway.
You gotta go on the website.
I've tried, and for some reason, it won't let me in, or I forget what the problem was.
They showed the JR Show starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Free falling.
I got some miscellaneous audio that I captured last night. All of it is completely and totally unrelated, but I thought some of it was kind of curious and interesting to pay attention to. Here is Charles Barkley, the lovable Chuck, on getting invited to Travis and Taylor's wedding. Here is Charles Barkley. That's not Charles Barkley.
No, it is not.
This is Charles Barkley.
Travis is a little busy right now. But I hope Jason comes.
So you didn't get the invite to the royal wedding at Madison Square Garden then?
I did.
Oh, you did get the invite. You didn't go?
I don't go to weddings. That's one of I don't go to weddings or funerals. But I did get an invite, and I politely declined because I thought it was going to be a show, and I love Travis and Jason, and I've only met Taylor one time. But yeah, I did get an invite, but I said, hey, you know what? That's just too much. I just want to hang out and play golf, and I don't want to dress up and all that other stuff. But I appreciate the invitation. It was pretty special.
That's pretty cool of him. I mean, to acknowledge that, it was an honor to be elected. I mean, chosen, but Charles didn't want to be a part of that. This is interesting. We talked about this yesterday when we were trying to figure out who was the last Dodger third baseman to go to the All-Star game, and who do we determine it was?
Oh, Lord, that was the Penguin. Gosh dang it, why do I always forget his name?
I don't know. Ron Say, who was one of, what was his real huge claim to fame, a record that still exists?
One of 4 men to all hit 20 home runs? 30 home runs in a season? Infield?
And no, the team. It was Dusty Baker, Reggie Smith, who was our right fielder, Steve Garvey, our first baseman, and Ron Say. Here is Dusty. What a lot of you probably forget is that everybody had 30 with 161 games to go, 161 games under their belt. meaning there was one game left, and one guy had 29 with one game to play. Here is Dusty Baker.
I hit a line drive, first at bat, foul tip one to the catcher's glove, and struck out. And I said, man, I'm not going to get it. Then Tom Lasorda, he comes over to me and said, Dusty, don't you ever say that. You got to believe. I said, Dusty, if you hit a home run, we go into the record books. So when you get up there, just say to yourself, I'm going to hit a home run. And then I went up to that next at bat, and that ball was like, stop. Oh, goodbye.
We were always saying, as much for him as we were for the four of us, really collectively, that it was the first time it had been done.
And then, as he crossed home plate, another slice of history.
Listen to this.
Glenn Burke's so excited, and he raises his arm high into the air.
He had his hand back like this. So what was I supposed to do? So I hit his hand.
And that suddenly becomes the first high five in baseball history.
There was no big deal. Glenn Burke did it, not me. Everybody says it was me, it was Glenn.
Dusty really became part of the Southern California landscape. He was the cool Dodger because he had the wristband.
It was every single day. This guy would show up looking like he ought to be on a magazine cover.
All the little things add up to who you are and your character and your personality. I've always said there's two things, style and class, and Dusty had both.
Dusty Baker has led an incredible life. He really has. I mean, think about that. He gets a home run. He's 0 for 3 on the 162nd game of the season, the final game of the season at Dodger Stadium. He's got 3 teammates who have already hit 30 home runs, and all he needs to do is hit one, and they go into the record books, and he doesn't think he can do it. And Tommy says, you got to believe. You got to believe. And he goes up there. Not only does he hit a home run, but Glenn Burke, who became famous, you remember what Glenn Burke became famous for?
I'm not remembering at the moment.
I believe, and I hope to God I'm right, because this is a horrible thing to say about a man if I'm wrong, but he was one of the first gay players to come out of the closet and be openly gay. Is that right? Are you looking him up? Give me a quick bio on Glenn Burke. Burke.
I believe you're right, because we talked about it. Yeah, no, he is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the man we talked about.
And they invented the high five, if you can believe that. And there's a picture with that audio that went along where it wasn't a traditional high five. He basically was trying to just shake hands with him, but they were so excited that they were up this high, if you're watching on YouTube, and they shook hands. They didn't do the traditional high five. They just clasped hands up high, and then that became kind of a tradition in sports.
That's what's blowing my mind right now. I don't know why I'm sitting here thinking the high five has been here since like the 1930s.
Oh, no, dude. When I played, it was right here. Give me 10. And then he gave the other guy 10.
No, but that's why
that
I
was
always
it.
thought the high five came first, and then everyone did the
No.
This
was it. This was it. And then then what happened after the high five was what the Dodgers do now. And that's
the arm thing?
The backhand. No, the backhand.
Oh,
You ever seen at the end of the game when we lined up, we all do it, we go the backhand. That was popular in like the late 80s when I was playing softball as a kid in the 20s. But yeah, the Dodgers, Glenn Burke and Dusty Baker.
That's insane to me that the high five was born in 1977.
Isn't that crazy?
I looked it up too for everybody who's not believing this. Like I looked it up on Google and it says the first ever high five was Dusty Baker in 1977.
Dusty Baker. Yep. And of course, we've talked about this before. As a young player, the only reason that his parents, he grew up in Northern California, and he grew up a pretty middle-class kid, and he had to go down to the South in the 1960s. And his parents didn't want him to go, and he didn't want to go, because Atlanta was a hot town in the 60s for black folks. And Hank Aaron flew to San Francisco and spoke to his parents and told them, I'll watch out for the kid. Come to find out, fast forward to 1974, April, and they're playing the Dodgers, and Hank goes to Dusty Baker, who's on deck behind him. I'm going to end this nonsense. I'm about to hit 7:15. Al Downey's going to throw me a slider outside, and he's going to come back in a fastball, and he's going to throw me a slider on the 2-1 pitch, and I'm going to end this nonsense. And that's exactly what happened. And Dusty Baker was on deck. It's led a phenomenal life. That's going to do it for us. I want to thank you for joining us. For Chris Burdick, I'm Ralph Bailey. That's what's really going on. We'll wrap to you tomorrow.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN, 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
Paul, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Democrat Graham Plattner says he plans.
You want to wait to do that? You want to do that?
No, let's do it now. All right, you ready? 3, 2. Hey, it's that man again, Ralph Bailey for Sangera Subaru. The summer heat is definitely here, and it's probably time to go on that summer trip. And what better way to travel than in a brand new Subaru? Now, if you want something sporty yet comfortable, then the choice is clear: an Outback. Plenty of room for the entire family. Plus, Outback gets 32 miles per gallon on the highway. And now, through July 31st, lease a 2026 Outback Premium CVT for $229 a month for 36 months and $5,017 due at signing. Plus, every Subaru comes standard with symmetrical all-wheel drive. Offer ends June 1st, so stop by, see my good friends Damon Culbertson and Hassan Levy, and test drive a brand new Outback. Sangera Subaru, paving the way for a better community. 5500 Gasoline Alley Drive in the Bakersfield Auto Mall.
Hold up, redo that last one.
The last paragraph?
Yeah, because you said June 1st. I know it's probably written June 1st because they didn't change it.
Oh, it is July, isn't it?
July 31st. More than likely.
Offer ends July 31st?
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah, June 1st wouldn't make much sense, would it?
No. I'm glad I caught that too.
No kidding. What would be our fault?
No.
I read what I was.
No. And that's honestly what I'm worried about with these World Cup ones that they gave us yesterday, because she now just put a revision in, and I'm like, seriously, you want these tomorrow and you put in a revision? It is what it is. But yeah.
All right, here we go. 3. You want me to do the whole thing?
No, just that last paragraph.
3, 2. Offer ends July 31st. So stop by, see my good friends Damon Culbertson and Hassan Levy, and test drive a brand new Outback. Sangera Subaru, paving the way for a better community. 5500 Gasoline Alley Drive in the Bakersfield Auto Mall. You want to do a promo or no?
The case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now, 800-550-7800.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. Not available in California.
The International Monetary Fund has modestly...
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update.
Gangs doing gang things just south of Kern County. I'm Chris Davis. Several members of India-based gangs have been indicted, and U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley says a person was kidnapped and brought to an apartment in Fresno for extortion purposes as part of the international gang activity.
The indictment also charges Bishnoi, Brar, and others with trafficking cocaine and methamphetamine, including by stealing hundreds of pounds